It is 6:33. We now begin the CRA board meeting on Tuesday, July 12th, 2016. Can we rise to an invocation and a pledge of allegiance? Do we have anyone doing the invocation? All right.
Let us bow.
Oh, I was going to do it.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh. Let us bow our heads and pray to our Heavenly Father and Motherly Earth. A lot has gone on in the country and in the world these past 2 weeks, or 1 month. And we need to think and recognize that we are all together here and as a community, and that we need to work, play, and live together. And that through God we can achieve these goals of harmony. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Katz.
Here.
Vice Chairman Craig.
Here.
Chairman Grant.
Here.
Ms. Romulus.
Here.
Mr. Costello. Here. All present.
Any items from legal?
None.
All right. Any additions, deletions, corrections to the agenda? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve the agenda as is? Can I have a second? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Agenda is approved. Informational items and disclosure by board members and CRA staff. Board Member Katz, would you like to begin?
Sure. I met with a local resident, Harry Woodward, the other day to talk about some of the ongoings in the CRA district. And tomorrow morning, I have a meeting with representatives from Isram Realty, developing the Riverwalk project potentially.
Vice Chairman McCraig.
Thank you, sir. I met with Bradley Miller also. I also have a meeting tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. with Isram Realty. That's it.
Board Member Romulus.
I met with Isram Realty yesterday, and that's all I have to report for now.
Thank you.
Board Member Costello.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I met with the Arthur and Francis Delmater of, and along with Miller Land Planning about the Village of East Ocean Avenue project. Pretty excited about that. I also had a meeting with the budget. We did some budget review with the city staff yesterday. Today, all of us were on the strategic plan workshop. I also just came back from West Palm Beach. As you know, I'm an appointed member to the state attorney's sober home, recovery home task force. And we had it was our first meeting today. It was very, very informative. We have some real experts up there. And by the January, we'll be sending some recommendations up to Tallahassee. Also, just I had the opportunity through the Delmater family, Francine. They own the Andrews home down at 306 Southeast First Avenue. It was built in 1901, and to walk into it's like going back into a time capsule. It looks like somebody just moved out of there from 1901, and I would really it's going to be a real centerpiece of that development down there as they progress with this. It's a real gem, and shame on me, I didn't even know it existed, and just till the other day, and I was lucky enough to have a tour of it. So thank you.
I had a phone conversation with Isram Realty and their attorney, Stephen Wary. I had phone conversations with Preston Giuliano Capital Management, Epoch Properties, and Eden's Properties. And I met with Harry Woolworth and Tom McClure. And on this past Thursday, we had a judicial forum over in Sterling Village, which went very, very well. All right. No announcements and awards.
Excuse me. I do need to add one on. I met today with the police department. They had the awards program over at the Intracoastal Clubhouse today, and I was there, so I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that. Also, I want to make mention about the Dallas shooting, it was made by the Dallas Police Department, the chief this morning, when he made mention about community policing, and I'm just saying, he said he wished he would have had community policing continue in Dallas. I'm glad to know that we're doing that already here in Boynton. Thank you.
Any more comments?
Our community police officers are here tonight. Officer Paramore, Sergeant Deal in the back, so they're here tonight if you want to ask them any questions or have them give you a mini report. They were not here last time, but they've been on the beat for almost 2 quarters now. So, yeah, 2 quarters. So you may want to, if you feel like you want to.
Yeah, I would like to have them come down and give us a little thumbnail of what's going on and how they're doing and how the community's accepting or not accepting it.
Why don't you all bring the young one down? He was there when we did the, worked so hard over there with the
Daycare center.
daycare center. Thank you. That's what I'm trying to say.
The brief snapshot for the first quarter of this year, from January through the end of March, we were, it was an abbreviated or abridged quarter, so we just got our feet wet in that one. I'm just finished up typing the last quarter from April 1st to June 30th. I'm working with the Mike Simon and to get that for you for the next meeting and be done by then. We had a lot of success in the last 3 months. We had the Berks Academy, as you just spoke about. We also kicked off the Nextdoor phone app for anybody that lives in the heart of Boynton. I know that the mayor has joined, Vivian Brooks and myself. We're also working with the Boy Scouts. We're going to go through training next week with the Boy Scouts for the mentoring program. And then also we're working on a job fair with the Boynton Beach Coalition of Clergy coming up in August. So getting our feet wet and moving forward.
You have a lot of interaction with the members of the community. How's that working? I know you spend a lot of time out there in the sidewalks and streets there.
We do, and we've had a lot of meetings with also Habitat for Humanity. They are, rather than just building homes anymore, they're actually trying to build communities. So we've had a lot of meetings. We're supposed to be meeting tonight, but it was postponed now till the 19th, which is a week from today.
Right.
So that's what their plan is, to build communities rather than just building homes. So we're getting a lot of positive feedback from the community meetings and from those individuals that show up, from juveniles and from the adults that show up.
That's great news. The other thing is that we had, I think there was some computers installed in there. Are they using them? Are people coming and actually using them yet, or is that a well-known fact, or is that we need some more advertisement with that? There's no computers there yet. Okay, great. All right. Sure.
My question is, how often do you all ride your Segways?
During the summer months, we haven't been riding them as much because it's been hot, and then also, as you can see, that today was almost raining. So we haven't been riding them as much, but we usually do about 6 miles a day up until like the last 2-3 weeks ago.
Question is that the gentlemen that be loitering on MLK Boulevard down by Bill, how receptive are they of you all being over there?
Well, the owner of
The gentlemen that be on the outside, you know, if you want to
they're
go
not
in,
receptive of our presence.
they're not receptive.
At all.
They hide.
Mr. Clifford, yeah, Mr. Clifford Bell doesn't like our. What is he? How do you classify it as? Over policing.
Over policing, yes. Not community, but over.
Makes them uncomfortable. Do your job. That's all I need to say. And now your name is. No, I'm talking about you, the officer.
Oh, me?
Yeah, you didn't give your name.
I'm
They
so
don't know
sorry.
you.
Sergeant Henry Deal, Boynton Beach Police Department.
Officer Paramore.
Owen? Officer?
Future.
My name is Dylan.
And you work real hard over at the daycare. Thank you. Work me to death.
For those who don't know, I'm mentoring Dylan. He's been coming in the office, for the last 2 months. So
Oh, very nice.
How old is it?
How old are you?
I'm 11.
And what school did he go to?
Odyssey Middle School.
Great. Good for you. Enjoy your summer, and you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
thank you.
Thank you.
And before we move on to the consent agenda, I just signed a new paycheck, or a paycheck for a new employee. Can you tell us what she will be doing, Mercedes?
Yes, Mercedes Copen was just hired right after she started after July 4th, and she's not here tonight. She has 2 young children, but she is a great addition. She's replacing Renee Roberts, and she works, her position is marketing and events, working with Christopher and Tracy.
Wonderful.
And she's so far hit the ground running. She can do a myriad of website things and social media, so she's great.
Excellent. Moving on. Seeing no items pulled from the consent agenda, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Wait, I'd like to pull the
Okay.
minutes.
You want to pull? Okay. Next time, do it during the additions, deletions. Can I get Board Member Ramos? Can I get a motion from you?
I'd like to make a motion to pull the minutes from the consent agenda.
All right. All those in favor? Aye.
On page 2, it says Ms. Robbins met with Bradley Miller and Bob DuBois. It's actually Mike DeBoos, DeBoos. It's Mike, not Bob. That's the correction.
All right. Thank you.
Motion
Motion
to
to
approve
approve.
as amended.
Yes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Consent agenda approved as amended. Information. Now we're on to public comments. Is there any? Huh? What digital? It's informational only. So if some would Commissioner Board Member Katz, is there something you would like to discuss on that?
No, I was just saying I thought that was the digital thing.
Okay. Can we get the marketing and business development campaign? Anything to present to us? Nope. Okay, great. Moving on to public comments. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak on an item that is not currently on the agenda? Seeing none? Yep. That was just on the agenda. All right. Seeing none, moving on to old business, selection of contractor for Marina Open Space Project.
Board Chair, board members, Mike Simon, Assistant Director with the CRA. The item before you is the consideration of the responses from the RFP that was issued for the Marina Open Space Project, which is the final phase of the Boynton Harbor Marina Master Plan. And the overall master plan is, I think, essentially your third page of the backup behind attachment 1. You can see the overall aerial of the marina with the completed entry tower feature project, the slip renovation project, the completed harbor master building, and then the final phase, which is the Marina Open Space Project and road improvement. The CRA staff issued the RFP on May 17th, 2016, with about a 40 to 45-day turnaround, and the submission deadline was the 23rd of June at 3 p.m., and we included a mandatory pre-submission site meeting at the location of the project so the contractors get a better feel for what the site is like and what the constraints are of it, and the vast amount of businesses that are moving around at the same time, so they could get a good idea and not pretend that they didn't know going in. So that worked out really well. Got a lot of good feedback from them. As a result of the RFP, we received 3 responses, and all the full responses are in your backup, all 3 of them, one from Lunicon Construction, one from West Construction, and one from Collage Construction. The 3 responses were evaluated by the evaluation team, which consisted of CRA staff, city staff, and the marina management staff, and the engineering and design firm of VHB. And on the last page, you'll see, and CRA Legal, you'll see the ranking sheet and you'll see the legal analysis. We're presenting to you tonight the results of that evaluation and ranking. The RFP provides categories for points being scored in addition to the price. You have qualifications of the firm, related experience of the firm and staff, the professional approach to construction for the specific project, and then the price proposal. So all of those were added together, averaged, and the ranking turned out that Collage was ranked first, West Construction was second, and Luna Con Engineering was third. So the item is being presented to you with the number one ranked company as the suggested contractor based on that evaluation. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to take them.
There was a lot of, we did all the architectural works ourselves.
VHB Engineering and Design did.
And
On
how,
our
Design
behalf.
firm.
and how much did that cost?
For the entire project, we had a master plan. I think it was about $638,000 for all three phases.
And so that's the tower at the
That's-
entrance, the master,
The Harbor Master Building.
Master.
And the open
Boardwalk.
space. And that includes, your, all of the geotechnical review, the start and stops of the project. But that was the complete phasing. They're now under contract with Construction Services Administration. They helped with the bid. They helped with the document review of the bids. So the next phase they'll go into is submittal review on product approvals and responding to issues from the contractor and providing construction management services.
Mike, have we paid for the permit fees, or we just paid the 30%?
At this point, we paid the 30%.
say it one more time?
Yeah. I didn't
We
read-
have additional permit fees associated with the project that had to be established with the contract price.
We actually have these documents that are, they bid on are permitted documents with the city, so I just wanted to know how much we've already paid in the permit fees.
And so, is there more additional permit fees?
There will be based on the price. The city now requires you to submit a contract with your, to receive the final permit so that they can better assess and more accurately gain revenue from projects that may have increased, post approval. So
They
I
don't
think that
take
was
your word
smart.
anymore.
That was a good idea on their part.
Michael, how much did we pay to have the old dive shop building demolished?
About $24,000.
$24,000? Thank you.
Any more questions for Michael?
Yeah, this the document that was put on our desk. Just I'm perusing through it. What's the purpose behind this one right here? Just to
To let you know that on our property that we own in the marina, except for where the dive shop is, my brain is dead today, where the gas pumps are, everything where the slips and where the this open space is supposed to be has a deed restriction by the county under the waterfront bond program the county did years ago. So
What is the restriction?
we have to, if we want to change our plan, we have to go to the county for permission. We've been to the county 3 times on this project. It took us 3 times to get this plan approved. The last time we went to the county was in 2015. And I see Mayor Taylor in the audience. He went with us. Woodrow Hay, when he was mayor, he went with us. So we've made many attempts to change the use so that it would be more open, so it would be more publicly accessible. The idea of the waterfront easement is to make the waterfront more publicly accessible to the public. And that's, so our argument was that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to give the public more access to the water.
So just at first glance, it looks like the restrictive covenants say that since that building was torn down, that nothing can necessarily go in its place structure-wise? Or
Marina-related uses is what the easement is protecting, the covenant protects, so.
And they've
Could
been
put a
given
car
our
lot
master
there or
plan,
something.
so they've, at this point, the county has approved our master plan, which is what you have before you. So that's why you have that. Because 3 of you are new here, so you are unaware of some of these way back documents that are old history prior to, even prior to the last commission, I think, so.
Okay, because I know I had recently inquired about this project and kind of expressed my concerns that I personally didn't think, one, I didn't necessarily think that the building should have been knocked down in the first place because it had economic potential, I think, in the middle of the marina there. But, that's in the past, it's torn down. But I still think that, there's an opportunity to make better use of this space. I understand, the desire for green space, although I'm not a supporter of green space for the sake of it, which means just putting patches of green space here and there so we can claim we have it. I think that, as far as providing access to the waters, this is kind of the bad end of a dock. I don't know if anyone was crying for access to the side of the dock that's landlocked and next to a road. So to my point, I'd inquired if we were not interested in any of the proposals that were being submitted today, does this restrictive covenants preclude any type of structure going in that place, or you said it has to be very specifically related to marina activities if we were to go in such a direction?
Well, it's marina-related uses. It doesn't restrict it to being a structure or non-structure. It has to be accepted by the county. So whatever the use that is desired by the board to put there just needs to be marine-related, not a car dealership or something, an ice cream parlor, something that's marine. It relates to the marina, the marine public access to the marina. That was under as Vivian said, the
Vice Chairman
waterfront
Craig?
preservation grant was during the time of the height of the market, and the marinas were being sold out for condos, and the county issued the bond after our vote and distributed funding at that point.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to go back to with Vivian. This is the project that County Commissioner Priscilla Taylor worked with us on.
Yes.
Okay, just want it to be stated for the record.
And we would have to do any sort of structure that would change the master plan, so we would have to get a new master plan?
If you change what's going to be built in any way, it would need to go back to the county for approval.
All right.
It doesn't preclude you from doing that. You just need to go back
Yeah.
before then.
What's the time frame on that?
It took
What do you
us-
want to do?
Yeah, what do you
I
want
mean,
to
if
do?
you already have an idea in mind, I suppose the timeline is based on your
I'll
direction.
throw out, because I kind of sparked this a little bit here. I just think that, we've invested tons of money into the marina and everything looks nice, but, it still really hasn't fulfilled its potential. There are vacant stored funds there, and that's for one reason or another, so I won't pin that on any particular cause. But I think that, we have a piece of land right here. I think that it needs to be something that is, an attraction, something that draws people to the marina. And I absolutely respect the work that's been put in to put this green space here, but, just in talking about this over an extended period of time, because this has been in the works for a while, even prior to many of us coming up here, that, individuals I spoke to said, and posed with the question, does this sound like this is something that will draw you to the marina more frequently? Is this something that you would be excited to utilize in the marina? And I really never got any sort of, glowing response, because people felt like there was a building there and it had not only economic potential, but it could have been anything that might have drawn people down there. So just personally for me, with no disrespect to any of the plans that were submitted, they're all very nice. I just think that if we're trying to make Boynton Beach into downtown a destination, if we're trying to make the marina a cornerstone of our potential downtown, that when we have opportunities which are limited like this to utilize space, that we should take a more proactive approach to making it a destination, versus what I see as a very nice looking green space. But again, just at first glance for me, it's at the wrong side of a dock. If it were on the intercoastal, I could see people being excited about going and sitting on benches looking at the intercoastal as boats go by. This is kind of at the part of the dock, the part of the marina where things collect in the water and kind of float around. So I don't just to me, I'd like to see something a little more attention grabbing or more of an attraction to put the marina on the map, even more so than it is right now.
Sorry, Board Member Katz, did you state a business? Did you state a specific business?
No.
Okay. Next, is there any of the contractors here that would like to speak on their behalf? Yes. Yeah, we'll wait for public comments after the contractors.
Good evening. My name is Matthew West. I'm Vice President for West Construction. Our company's been in Palm Beach County operating for 47 years. In the last 10 years, we've done nearly $500 million in business in South Florida. We have about $100 million in backlog currently and have a bonding capacity of $50 million individual project and $150 million aggregate. We're $135,000 plus below the number one ranked firm. For the life of us, we don't understand why, given the economic disparity between us and even the lower bidder, Lunicon, who is also a qualified company. A few years back, we were the low bidder and were not selected for the Dock Masters building, the Harbor Masters building. And the same firm that's been ranked number one was ranked number one back then. We just do not feel really comfortable about the process, and we encourage the board to really dig into this before voting on it. For us, due to what appears to be something very clear going on, we're going to no longer participate in procurement opportunities for the Boynton Beach CRA should the board decide to move forward with this. I know the boards usually take staff recommendation. I've been doing this a long time, but I felt it was important to get up and speak to you tonight, given the history that's occurred here with the procurement with these projects.
Not to put you on the spot, but as someone who's only been up here for a few months, I mean, are you willing to elaborate on what sounds like kind of an accusation or a concern?
Well, when you look at the disparity in the percentage of cost, and when you look at the qualifications of a firm like West, who's a local firm, with a 20% price benefit to the CRA, and if you look at Lunicon, who is a Miami-based firm, but a qualified company nonetheless, who's 42% cheaper than the firm who's being ranked number one, from a common sense approach, it doesn't make sense. It didn't make sense to us a couple years ago when we were around $80,000 cheaper and were not recommended for approval. And, you know, I don't want to go into it any deeper than that, but again, I just feel that as a board, you know, you have a obligation to ensure that what's being done and recommended by staff is in the best interest of your constituents. And I'm hereby just requesting that you dig deep into this before you do an award.
For the board, the page is 800 in your backup for the rankings.
Mike, could you elaborate on the quality of the proposals or the ranking order, given the fact that, you know, a $240,000 difference?
Why was Collage received a 30 out of 30?
They didn't receive, well, they received a 30 out of 30 on qualifications. So if you look at again, all the firms that bid on or submitted proposals on this project and others in the CRA, which are not just one that has done all the projects, as I'm sure you're aware, but the evaluation was done on the 4 categories. On the price proposal category, you can see that Collage was not ranked first, but Lunicon was ranked first. All of them are fairly tight together with regard to the ranking of 90, 85, and 79. There's not a disparity, the disparity between companies' qualifications or ranking. This is a close evaluation, as all of them generally are.
So there was a team that ranked this. Can you please state the team's name?
Mike Simon, Vivian Brooks, Chris Brown, Kenneth Ray, Andrew Mack, and Brian Smith.
And I know a few of the names. What were the qualifications of the people not on CRA and city staff? Or were they all on CRA and city staff?
Qualifications are, I think, speak for themselves. You have
Yeah.
the engineering
Or just
firm.
their job title?
Engineers. So you have a licensed engineer and landscape architect reviewed the plans and the responses. CRA Legal, and then you had Brian Smith, who is 25 plus years in the marine industry, and Andrew Mack, who's the city engineer and was the building official and now the director of development. Again, these are rankings done based on the criteria that we set forth in the RFP. The board, being that it is not an ITB, a low bid type of a release, it allows for these other things to be analyzed. And we certainly respect the decision of the board, or you can look at the ranking and decide that that's the way to go. It looks like our CRA Legal would like to say something.
I just wanted to add that we do a review based on the criteria that you choose to put in the request for proposal of the compliance with those criteria, and there's a memorandum in here that analyzes each person as their responsible or responsive bidder pursuant to that criteria.
You know what page that's on in the back?
It is the page but it's the second to last page in this agenda item.
Oh, I was hoping for the actual.
798.
798.
We prepare that. We don't make recommendations. We simply do an analysis and provide it to staff to be used in their selection. But it is an analysis of the criteria you put in the bid. As you are aware, pursuant to the RFP, you are able to waive minor formalities, technical inconsistencies, or delete any item requirement from this request for proposal when you determine in your sole discretion it's to be in the CRA's best interest. I'm reading that from the proposal, but the point of it is staff does an analysis, presents it to you, and gives you the choice. We just give you the full information, and that's what legal does. So I think some of the issues that are being presented have to do with the responsible bidder criteria that are set forth in the RFP. And again, that's at the board's discretion to make a selection.
Vice Chair McCray.
Thank you, sir. Mike, this is for you. The gentleman stated that something very clear is going on. I just need you, was there anything going on? That's all I need to know. I'm just saying, because it's like an accusation at this point. I don't know why.
No, there's nothing going on.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for asking.
Any more comments or open up to public? All right, public.
Thank you, Mayor, Chair. Linda Cross, 625 Casa Loma Boulevard, Unit 601, Boynton Beach. I feel like I have to, every time we talk about the marina, go back into the Wayback Machine. And I apologize to Member Katz, but I've been involved with this whole marina project for the last 8 years. I've been to the county commission and talked with them, and I do respectfully disagree with your thoughts that the open space, and it's not just open space, and I do think there might even be a picture in the presentation. I'm not sure if it's still in the presentation, but it is not just open space. The problem we have in that marina, or the issue is that you wouldn't even necessarily, we have the nice entranceway, but there isn't anything that flows all the way around to get to the marina. This is the connector that gets from the wonderful entrance all the way around back to the Harbor Master's building. And what it does is it opens up and absolutely brings people in for the jet skis, the boat rentals, the fishing rentals, the sea mist, the dive boats, going back into Two Georges and Banana Boat. It absolutely finishes off the area for all of that and does bring the public into a very nice area for the marina. Now, I know you think that we can put something there that's going to generate some revenue. It's a very small concrete pad. It sounds like you've actually been out there, which I'm very excited that you have been, because most people talk about it, they've never seen it. But it's a very small concrete pad, and this has been going on for, I know it's at least 8 years that I've been involved, and I think it was going on before then. We need to finish this phase of the marina, and as far as the contractors go, I was on the, I'm the chair of the CRA advisory board, and we went through these contracts last Thursday, and we did not, we actually would recommend to the CRA board, and I thought maybe it would be somehow in here, but we recommend to the CRA board that they accept the recommendations of staff. And part of the reason is, and we absolutely challenged on the price. This isn't a low bid contract, but we absolutely challenged on the price and came to understand that, and with all due respect to the representative from West Engineering or from West Construction, came to understand that the very technical part of how this whole area is going to be developed, and the open space is put there, and the dock is fixed, and the bulkheads are created, all of that are fixed and repaired, and there's been all sorts of bulkhead inspections, that the firm that came in number one is the firm that was decided was the best one to do that work. So that was our recommendation, to stay with the staff recommendation. Obviously, you don't have to follow that recommendation, but one thing that I do think would be a total waste of money and a total waste of time is to go back and change this whole plan. Thank you.
Ms. Cross, before you go, you said that we don't have to accept the recommendation, but I just want clarification for you. CRA Advisory Board recommendation, approval of item as presented. We do have that before us. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Carriage 248 Main Boulevard. Little history lesson. When the county approved the bond for marinas, the emphasis was on public access, because at the time, many of the marinas throughout the county were being gobbled up, and they were condo developments and other things. We had the lowest amount given to us of any of the marinas. We leveraged that better than any other municipality agency in the county. As one that was there with Mayor Hay and with Mayor Taylor and with Mr. Buchanan and with former Commissioner Bill Orlov and others, as we went to the county and made the presentation. I want to also remind everybody that 163, the statute that governs CRAs, the simple rule when you go through the Florida Redevelopment Agency training is that if it's not in the plan, you can't do it. This master plan has been in place now for more than 9 years that I am aware of. It has been voted on 6 different times. The majority has always called for this to be a green space. This is the final phase of the marina project. I would appreciate you sticking to the plan. As far as the contractors, I was on that board when we made the decision to do the dock master building and all the landscape and everything down there, the fuel pumps, everything like that. And I will tell you that Collage did an excellent job on that project. They won the award. The reason West was not selected was because at the time they had a litigation with the municipality that scored them a little lower. Now, West is a good company. Joe West does a great job. Collage is a great company. The third one I'm not familiar with, but I am familiar with both of them. Collage also used local subs, Davco Electric. They're going to use them again. They have others. Davco's right here in Boynton Beach. They have the landscape company is out of Loxahatchee. They are on site. When they did the dock master building, and Mike, you can verify this, Brian Smith, our dock master, got no complaints. When they were on site, if there was an issue, they resolved it the same day. They did an excellent job. They came in on time and under budget, something that's very rare, okay? And I would urge you to follow the recommendation of the advisory board. They vetted this. They drilled down on those costs. They asked the questions of Mike, and they reviewed everything that you've got in front of you. Legals reviewed this as well. Legal reviewed it the last time also. When West was not selected, they turned around and filed suit against the CRA and Collage. Both of those were dismissed very rapidly. So my basis is based on that history. And this is something that we have had in the master plan for years. It is the right thing to do. Follow the plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Buck Buchanan, 807 Ocean Inlet Drive. I, too, was on the board, CRA board, time some of these, it goes back, predates me, though. But anyway, to your point, Board Member Katz, the building that was torn down was way out of code. There were a lot of problems with it. And you've been there, and you can see that there is really no functional way to put something in there independent of what's already there. That open space enhances the potential for the retail and other activities in the bottom on the ground floor of the marina building. And yes, there are places for people to sit. And, you know, it's a crazy thing. People in Florida like to sit outside. They'll sit outside in the heat. They'll sit outside. There are restaurants that have outside seating on Federal Highway with traffic pouring by and exhaust and all that. Just people like to sit outside in Florida. I think there would be enhancement. And I agree with what Linda said. You've got that flow that goes along there. And there's nothing, and I looked at it, I mean, I considered it very seriously when I was on there. It was already in the master plan, which I was not anxious to change. But I did look. I could not come up with a single use that would be a big attraction and at the same time not a detriment to the potential that's already there. So I encourage everybody to go along with the master plan, and let's get this done. And I think it'll be a beautiful, flowing environment. And I understand what you're saying. I mean, I went through that, okay? But when you look at it long enough and you see what's there, you understand that all that can be done with that small space is to enhance what is already there and make the marina more beautiful. Thank you.
I'll go on record. I was the only one to vote to save the old dive shop building. And in all due respect, Mr. Buchanan, you said there was a lot of problems, a lot of code violations, and that was true. But as we look across the street for a building that stood there for 20 years and how hard we're fighting to try to save that, I believe that we could have done, we didn't do enough, we didn't explore enough what the possibilities of an existing building on the intercoastal, what we could have made of that, what it could become of that. This plan here, it's expensive, it's very vanilla. I kind of agree with Commissioner Katz that, and I've said this before, I'm on record for saying this, we're putting some sod in, some benches, and a couple of palm trees. If my memory serves me well, and I was there, I videotaped the old dive shop being torn down. I spent a lot of time down there. That the fish cleaning tables are right at this end down here. I don't know how much you're going to enjoy that on a hot August day, sitting on the benches watching the fish being gutted. So I'm not in favor of this so-called green space. My plan was, my ideas were, like I say, I was voted down, and I respect that. But this right here, this plan here is a vanilla plan that doesn't show no imagination whatsoever.
Vice Chair McCray.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to go on record. When we pulled out and said that we wanted to give a CRA board and give them something to do and charge them, and people want to know what did they do, what was their responsibility, and this is one of the projects that they have brought back, CRA Advisory Board recommendation. My whole take is that this is keeping in line with the marina plan, and those of us that sat here before years ago when we was going through all of this and saying about the green space, this is keeping in with the marina plan, and I'm in favor of giving, offering I'm going to go ahead now and offer a motion that we go ahead and award it to the Collage Company.
I have a question for legal. If Mr. West is here and if he's able to bind his company, are we able to renegotiate the contract?
The contract has not been negotiated. It'll have to be negotiated after the award tonight.
Okay.
So there will be, that's the second stage. Tonight you choose
I have two questions for Mr. West because I was able to see a little bit more information about the reason why of the rankings. The two main issues is lawsuits and cost overruns. I just was, one of the public said that you actually sued the city. Is that correct?
Sued.
The CRA, I'm sorry.
We had a bid protest on the previous award. We quickly worked it out with the CRA. It was over the language that was in the document. It was basically matter-of-fact language that doesn't give the contractor any opportunity to explain the litigation history, to explain certain things. It basically says you'll be considered non-responsive if you have any legal matters with public entities. That is somewhat restrictive language that makes us be penalized for having our judicial rights in a process. We worked through with my attorney and the CRA's attorney at the time to change that language a little bit, and we agreed to withdraw based on that change.
And then the other issue is cost overruns.
Any large cost overruns that have occurred on our projects were owner-initiated changes. I can give you one example. With the city of Parkland, we just finished up a large multi-million-dollar park. They were very satisfied with our performance and gave us a change order for the next phase. Now, that's a owner-initiated change. It was like $1.4 million, but it makes it look like there was a big change order on the job when really there wasn't.
Sir, I mean no offense to you, but that's exactly what Collage said. Those are the same reasons for cost overrun. So your company didn't respond to it. They did, even though they said the exact same thing you're saying now. So what was the problem with responding then?
I'm not sure the specific way we responded to that. I wasn't the one that prepared the bid package. So I don't know what our response was to that matter. I haven't memorized our submittal. My apologies. I can, review that and get back to the board.
Well, thank you very much for your answers. We do appreciate it. There is a motion on the table or in front of the board to approve the boardwalk for the Collage companies. Do I hear a second? I would like to pass the gavel and approve second the motion to have the Collage companies have the award to the Collage companies. I think that this is not only vanilla, it's more of a banana split. We're getting chocolate, strawberry, nuts. I don't know if you heard of the boardwalk on Federal, but this is similar to that. As to seeing fish getting cut up, it's kind of like, yeah, that means you caught something. There's plenty of times where you don't catch anything worth gutting. The sea mist, I was there this weekend. There's just so many people standing around doing nothing, and there's nothing there. It's a cement lot, and it's not capable of something being built there. There's no electrical, I'm sure there's electrical and water, but that is the only reason, the only thing that we can do is continue the boardwalk that is currently in the marina. You see it, and it's kind of like this could be the showpiece. We have a new tenant coming in. Vivian, is that correct? Freedom Boat Club?
Yes. Yes.
And, this will definitely allow us to charge more for our dock fees. Is that also would be correct?
Well, we're proposing that in the budget if you approve it.
And this is something that will make the city better. This will make it a tourist destination. I can't think of anything else that this could be except a boardwalk. And, this will cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to do anything else. And I don't believe anyone's going to. And what is the exact size of that lot where the dive shop was?
I put in your backup, there's a drawing. If you want to go the whole and redesign the whole thing.
No, just a question of the dive shop. It had.
The footprint of the dive shop was probably about 1,200 feet on the footprint because it was 2-story. So the actual footprint was about 1,200.
Okay, so it's not like there's going to be a lot of anything that could be developed, really. because it has to be a certain amount from the marina now because of new codes.
Yeah, the setbacks.
Okay, so can we get a?
Right, the gavel has been passed, it's been moved and second.
Board
This
member-
discussion.
Board
Yes.
Member McCray, may I
Sure.
ask, does your motion include direction to staff to enter into a contract negotiations and approve and execute a contract? I just want to be clear if your motion.
Did.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 3-2. Can I just hit this?
I'd like to ask a question really quickly. With regards to this, I have not voted, sorry. Give me a second here. With regards to this proposal, I know we're saying that if we were to go back and lay out the plans and basically get rid of them and do something new, what's the time frame that we're looking at compared to what we have on the table now? What's the time frame that we're looking at? How much longer will we have this empty slate of land sitting there, having nothing be done?
I mean, the appropriate answer to give you is the project is a 4-month project as it is designed now. And if you determine that you would like to do something else or explore other options, then the time frame would be to the length of time it took to generate an approved project from the board, then do some schematic designs and get feedback from the engineers on costs, and then you'd need to go to the commission at the county to get their approval. It could be another 18 months or so, I would think.
How long did this one take?
This project was.
Well, when did it start?
The
And I know
tower-
this is the third phase.
No,
so-
this phase, Mike, we started going to the county in 2012 on this piece to get the county's approval.
I was even going to say that the tower was done and completed in January of 11, and we were ready to go on this project in January of 11, but we had to delay it because of the controversy with regard to the easement and getting an outside entity's approval over the city's. I'm sorry, excuse me, the city didn't have anything to do with it, the CRA board.
Okay. Aye.
But
Vice Chair, you want a motion approved?
Motion approved, 3-2. Thank you. I want to hit that gavel
Thank
so
you.
bad.
All right, we're on to, oh, don't worry, I'll give it to you.
So y'all
New-
ready for a 4-hour presentation?
Discussion, correct, 7:30, so.
Just a joke. That was a joke.
Okay, well, I'd like to make a motion to take a recess at 9:30, just in advance.
Oh, no, it won't be that one.
Okay.
No, I'll try to not make it that long. How to make planning interesting, huh? Thank you. I don't know any planning jokes, sorry. Why we're here? This is why we're here. We have a myriad of plans that overlap each other. Can't find which one applies to your property. People don't know what's going to happen. Unpredictability. So we're trying to create one plan you can go to and see what do you want to happen in the CRA. That's
but
really all we're doing.
One quick thing,
Huh?
are we approving the CRA consolidated plan today?
No, we need your feedback. What we want from you tonight is the changes that we're proposing from the adopted plans. What do you want? Do you want any changes? Are you okay with what we're proposing? We put our planneries heads together, city CRA, and we say this is where we think, based on population growth projections, where should growth occur? What makes the most sense based on access to transportation, 95, things like that, and where there's already the road system and transit system. So that's why we're here. We wanted to know give us direction.
Not to interrupt you too early in this, but I wasn't at the CRAB meeting, but I'd heard that there was a request by the CRAB board to be given kind of extended time to review this and come back with.
We're trying to get this. This really is the Cliff Notes, because this isn't the plan. So this is the Cliff Notes, but we're going to do another Cliff Note for them and bring it back on. We're trying to get a quorum to come back on July 21st with the CRAB and go over it again. They don't have as much experience with land use, planning, and zoning, so we get it. We were here very late Thursday till 11:30, so we're trying to see if we can get a quorum to reconvene and go over that, the kind of the cliff notes. So.
Because I just, given the fact that we're not, expected to vote on this tonight, and our next meeting will be a month away, I just want to make sure that if they're requesting additional time to review it and comment on it at their next meeting, that I'd, personally be in favor of granting them that respect, since we don't have to vote on anything right now.
Right. We're working with them to try to get a meeting, like I said. And again, we're just looking for your input. So we have some timelines. We're trying to meet as staff, which means writing a draft plan that'll come before you as commission. So we're looking to, okay, are you okay with this? Are you okay? Are you not okay with it? We just need some feedback from you as a group. So that's what we're looking for. And you've all gotten this book, either hard copy or downloaded it, or this PowerPoint. So this is the process we've been through, and some of you have been to these, and some of you haven't. So there'll be public hearings, and of course we call them public hearings because the public has the right to get up and say, I don't like this, or I like this, or whatever. So these are the dates at the bottom. So we're shooting for August. The next one, August 16th, we're shooting to bring you a plan. August 9th as the CRA board, City Commission, August 16th, and August 6th. So we're shooting to bring you a plan. So that's why we're asking you feedback, because we're.
Vivian, if I can interject here, I sat through this presentation over at the library, I think it was, and the public was there. And I didn't see much input from the public. It was mostly yes, no answers. That we had the clickers going there, greatly attended. But all the questions had to be saved to the end. And by the time we got to the end, it was no one remembered what we were even looking at. It was too much, too in-depth, too long. I think something like this needs to be broken down in sections and dissected, section at a time, versus giving a whole, presentation at once. I didn't feel like the public got to participate at the library, although they were in attendance and they voted, but the questions that they were needed to ask, they didn't have the opportunity to ask until the very end. Right. By that time, a lot of people had dissipated and left due to the time.
And you'll see those comments and questions at the end of this PowerPoint that you can read, and also same with the developers forum. They're back there too, so you're able to read those. We actually typed those up from the minutes and the audio. So we included those for you. We think that's important to include that, not just the clicker information. So we did do that. This is just this is how we got our responses, as you saw, so you know how we did it. I'm not going to go through this. You know all this stuff. Socioeconomic, you already know all that stuff. Not going to go through this. This is just how we organize the CRA based on, again, the transit. How do people get around? How they get in and out of the CRA, and the main arterial roads. Organizing your growth around those major, what I call nodes, where major intersections are, and that's really what we based it on. It's not a unique planning concept. It's pretty time proven. So obviously, Boynton Beach Boulevard, Wilbright are very, they go right to 95, and they're very quick and easy to get to. We're lucky we have the closest access to I-95 of any city in Palm Beach County, so we're very, very lucky. So you have the downtown corridor, you have Wilbright, you have the Boynton Beach Boulevard corridor, you have, it's really hard to see it because it's white, but the industrial heart of Boynton. So those are the districts. And what their names are, and some people get hung up on the names, but they're just to describe what they are. They're not anything. And then there's a bigger picture here. We are not just the CRA, we're the city. The CRA is a part of the city. We connect to the rest of the city. And at some point, and you've probably heard this already through your economic development plan, that the city's going to be looking at redevelopment of these areas outside the CRA where it connects at these nodes, these same major nodes. So because the city has nowhere else to grow, so it's got to look at some of these areas.
I just want to make a quick comment that I learned today is that the city helped prepare this. There was supposed to be an outside contractor that helps with the consolidated CRA plan, and that did not occur. And so the city stepped in, and so the city staff knows of everything that's in here because they helped create it.
Yes, we're working together. Yes, it's a team effort. So that you'll see these two nodes at Gateway, Boynton Beach, and so you'll see the nodes there, and what's in between is retail, as you know, probably from reading the paper, that those retail corridors are, kind of suffering a little bit. So that's an opportunity for the city to step in. These are our districts, finally rain, industrial craft, Boynton Beach Boulevard, downtown, cultural, federal highway, north and south, and heart of Boynton. And we've had plans for some of these. We're going to just talk about connectivity a little bit. Complete streets. How do you make it so people want to live in your downtown? You make it walkable with decent sidewalks, wide enough sidewalks where you can have shade trees and where you can ride a bike that you won't feel like you're going to get hit by a truck, and that there is some kind of transit opportunity, either a trolley or something like that at some point in time when it makes sense. So these are the streets that we propose to make complete streets. That's the list up there. And that means planning for it and budgeting for it at some point down the road. Greenways, these are just buffers between areas where people can get outside, get some air, get a little nature, sit under a tree, read a book. Bike lanes, very important. People do support doing these kind of improvements. This is the important part, future land use. This is something where, again, we need your input, and we ask for the public's input on this. This is the proposed land use structure. This is the existing right now. You have a low density, a moderate density with only 2.5 units in between. Then you have a medium density and a high density with 1 unit in between. And then you have a special high at 20. So we're looking to collapse the first two, low mod, into low density at 7.5, collapse medium and high into medium at 11, and split special high into high density at 15, which would be a new land use category, and keep special high density at 20. So that's one change. If you see new land use category, that's a change. That is actually a new category of lower density. That is one change, okay? Then in mixed use, we are proposing under mixed use prior to this plan, we only had mixed use at 40, and we had mixed use at 80. So there was no in between. It was one or the other.
What year is this?
This goes back to the Federal Highway Corridor Plan of 2006.
Okay. Because that has changed. We do have mixed use low 1, 2, 3, and then mixed use.
You're talking about zoning.
So
I know, it's confusing.
Oh, so okay. So this is land use is not the same as zoning.
No.
And
I know.
And so we're creating new land use definitions to more coincide with zoning.
Correct. And you're going to look at. We're going to create a different land use category, a new one, that is a lower density. That, in other words, on North and South Federal, where right now it's only special high density residential, which precludes any commercial. Somebody could do a mixed use, but limited by 45 feet height. They could do some small commercial in there. Say they want to do a hair salon or, a coffee shop. They could do that. So we're proposing this new category because there was support by the public for such type projects on North and South Federal. And there's a lot of smaller pieces of land. There's not very many big pieces of land left on North and South Federal. So these would be infill type projects. So.
Got a quick question regarding, so does mixed use, is that instead of trying to rezone commercial for higher than 45 feet?
No, the mixed-use low would be 45 feet. We'll talk about
So my question
zoning in a
is
minute.
that we don't want any commercial space over 45 feet, but we'll allow residential and commercial over 45 feet?
Not under mixed-use low. We would not, no. Not on North and South Federal. That's not what we're proposing. We are not proposing that. We're just we're giving some flexibility.
No, I'm asking in the downtown. Could we
The downtown.
So we could have a hotel there
Oh,
under
absolutely,
mixed
yes.
use?
Yes.
But they would not be required to have residential?
Because that's mixed-use core. Mixed-use core, you could have, that's 80 units the acre, and the corresponding zoning would allow 150 feet high, and you could have a mix of retail and office. You could have a mix of retail and hotel. You know, it doesn't have to be residential per se.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry. I know it's mind-numbing when you're talking about land use and zoning. So now you have two land use categories, and they're actually adding categories of lower density. So people agreed with that. They liked the lower density. Now we're going to talk about how land use relates to zoning categories. Yes, I know. So basically, on the top, under just the residential only, you're going to keep the same stories, the height, basically. That is not going to change. And the density caps will stay what we proposed before. So we're not going to have these one unit difference. We're going to try to make it a little easier on the developers in that category. Now when you get to the bottom and you start looking at the mixed use 1 on the right-hand side under proposed zoning, mixed use 1, 2, 3, 4, and core. So now you're saying this is where it comes in height on your far right-hand column. So that's where you get your height. Zoning is more about the height, the form, the setbacks, all of that nature.
Because I thought that was the businesses.
Land use is what can it be? Land use is, can it be commercial? Can it be residential? That's land use in general, not 100%. It's local retail commercial, and then there's a list of what can go under local retail commercial. So, but then you get into zoning, and then
That's where we're at now, proposed zoning. So can MU1 be only commercial?
It could be.
Okay, that's what I want to know.
It could be like retail
it.
and office.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I can't see MU2, what's the height on that? I can't see it from this.
It's 65 feet.
Thank you.
And are these max heights, or are there exceptions allowed on top of these max heights?
The current code allows for a height exception for, and I love this word, appurtenances. And appurtenances are the elevator shaft, the HVAC system, so you don't see it. They don't want to see the HVAC system. In fact, you have to hide it. They're supposed to hide it. And they don't want to see the stacks for any cooking things, hoods or things like that. So they allow a height exception for that.
Can we not allow a height exception and say what is max and what is max?
You can say this is the max. I've heard, I got feedback from a developer that said, just give us a max and tell us what the max is and make it a max. And this is from a developer that you just recently approved a project on. So.
And Tara, do we need to, is she here?
No, she went to the restroom.
I will ask her a question later then.
You can change the code. I don't know if that's an issue, but if you say it's the max, you can call it the max. So the only change in this one is under mixed use medium, we split it into, I thought somebody was talking to me. Sorry. We split it into mixed use 2 and 3. So now, so we're trying to stagger it because remember, we had it from 40 to 80. That was your option. And the height was 60 to 150. So there was no, there was no graduation of height at all. So not saying that everybody will make it and build it that way, because we know that the market determines height for sure, and the property actually determines how many units they're going to build. So we split it and we created the mixed use 3 at 50 and 75. And then the mixed-use 4, that's a new one. That's 60 units at 100 feet. So those are the two new ones that you need to be aware of. Those are the two new ones. Mixed-use 3, mixed-use 4. So those are two new zonings under mixed-use high and mixed-use medium. Mixed-use medium is mixed-use 3 at 50 and 75. Mixed-use high, mixed-use 4 at 60 and 100. So, and we'll get into where that would go and where that would lay.
And what is the purpose for having two categories in the mixed-use medium and mixed-use high?
It gives you, if you look at the density cap, you'll see how it graduates, and if you look at the height, you'll see how it graduates. It's
The question is that couldn't we could also decide just to have one for mixed-use medium and one for mixed-use high?
yes, you can.
Okay.
That's how it was. I mean, you can do that.
What's the benefit to having the MU2 and the MU3 as opposed to just having the MU3 as like the maximum of MU2, 3, what it is?
Flexibility. Right, nothing other than that, flexibility. You can have a cap, and you can pick a cap and say, this is our cap, and, and without the height exception, you can, you just need to give us what you are going to be comfortable with, putting in a plan and putting in code. Because that's really what we need to get from you guys. So the reason to do the plans is Boynton Beach Boulevard, we had done some planning on it with the public, but we never really, this is coming off I-95 here. This is Galaxy coming here. This is what we're proposing as Boynton Beach Boulevard District. This is the FEC right here. So we're looking at this area here. One of the reasons that Boynton Beach has not really thrived is and I'll go on, the zoning, and I don't really want to even talk about the streetscape. We all know we have to do all that. We know we have to make it better. This is what it looks like now, and I think we all know that. This is good, that's bad. So let's talk about land use. We had a workshop with the public, and this is what the public said. Go 2 blocks deep on the south side for your mixed use to make it viable, to make viable projects. Well, we never actually encoded this or made it into a plan. We were trying to work on the Boynton Beach Boulevard beautification, the road project, and incorporate it and try to do this consolidated plan, try and do it all at the same time and put it together. That didn't happen. So this is what came out of the workshop recommendation at the top. They only had it 1 deep, half block deep at the top. Now at the bottom, this is what we're proposing. A full block deep. The reason Boynton Beach Boulevard looks the way it does is you only have a half block of commercial. So this is a change from what is. So let's go to the next slide, because this is what is right now. This is the change from existing land use. This is existing land use right now. Local retail commercial is 1 thin mint here and here. So what you have is you have a smattering of old 1930s to 1970 houses that have been converted to commercial, which, no offense, has not proven to be a sustainable economic model for this corridor here. I think we can all agree there. To have sustainable commercial or mixed use, you need a block depth. Now, that doesn't mean if we adopt this plan that is a block deep, that everything's going, we're not saying you have to sell your house, we're not saying anything. But what certainly has happened is these houses here that back up to gas stations, and many of these don't even have buffers between the single-family residential and the retail commercial. There's no buffer. Their property values are suffering as it is, being in this condition. So we are proposing going to the depth that makes the most sense to do a viable, sustainable project that will bring financial success to the developer and to the city. And these are the, again, we're graduating. If you look at coming off I-95, mixed use low, because this is a single family neighborhood here, mixed use medium at the Seacrest intersection, and then mixed use high here. As you get to the FEC, because the train station is right here. So this is a new thing that you have not seen. You haven't seen this in the federal highway, you haven't seen it in the downtown. So this is what is being proposed. And there's also, we want to look at the back of what we're saying. These are the single-family homes. There's not very little landscaping. We are proposing that there is a buffer. We're not saying this is the buffer, but this is actually a buffer that exists in another area, where the back of on the commercial side or mixed-use side would be like this. So these homes would not be adversely affected by the commercial as they are today. And this neighborhood would perchance get an opportunity to increase in value. So this is just a, so that's the idea. So these are some of the ideas. They would, in other words, as you come off 95, it's lower, 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 little higher, and then higher as you get near the train station.
What page is this?
This is, put my glasses on. This is 41 in the PowerPoint. I don't know what it is in your, because I don't have, all I have is the PowerPoint here, so I'm not sure.
It's the same. It's the same. It follows.
Yep, it's the same. So has anyone spoken to the two churches on the west side of Seacrest to see if they're looking to move? Because I think they've been there for over 50, 60 years.
Again, it does not mean that they have to go away. They're not going away. And doesn't mean they're leaving or we're asking them to leave. And it's this is a church right here, and this church would not be affected here. So, do you have any questions on that?
I'll just point out that I think that, for all the different areas downtown, and, there's a lot of concern about, the town square and Ocean Ave area and the federal corridor, that Boynton Beach is seemingly overlooked, and it's just everything that we do downtown and on Federal and off of Ocean. If you've got to drive through an undesirable roadway in terms of just attraction, I'm not knocking any of the businesses or anything like that, but it's just not an attractive roadway right now, and it's not going to allure, or it's not going to lure in, potential additional businesses unless we fix it. I think this is just, this is a precursor to what we want to do downtown. We have to fix this roadway and improve the way it looks and improve the economic opportunity for the businesses that exist there. And I know that Vivian's going out of her way to make sure that people know that this change to the land use does not mean you're going to be kicked out of your house if you live within one block of Boynton Beach Boulevard. It just presents the opportunity for new businesses coming in to have a larger piece of land to work with, whereas right now the size of the zoning on particularly the north side of Boynton Beach Boulevard is restrictive. It's prohibitive to businesses that might want to build, a retail outlet and have the appropriate parking. So I just, personally for me, this is something that I talked about in strategic planning with the consultant. So I think this corridor from Gateway to Federal is extremely important to get up to spec, so that when people want to come to our town, they don't feel like they have to go through something they don't want to be in. It'll deter them, so.
So this is just obviously a view looking east on Boynton Beach Boulevard when you get off 95. And this is just a concept idea, creating more green space on the, what I call the public realm space right here.
Excuse me, Vivian. Commissioner Katz said from Gateway. Did you mean Gateway of Boynton Beach Boulevard? Am I?
Yes, I meant 95 in Boynton to
okay,
Federal.
thank you. Okay, because
Vivian, I never received one of those follow-along binders here. Could I have one, please?
Oh, okay.
I think it's in the city clerk's office.
It's not in my mailbox.
Oh, it was out to the table to the left.
Okay,
In
sorry.
the Pirate Fest bag.
I didn't get
In your Pirate
I didn't get
Fest.
a Pirate Fest bag.
No, I'm so sorry. It was cool.
I got mine.
Sorry about that. And there's no rum in there either. So this is just a concept. I don't want anyone to get hung up on design or anything like that. But, you create some more green space and walkability and all those things that people say they want. Cultural district, very small, smallest planning district in this whole plan, 28 acres. It's not very big. It's this is Boynton Beach Boulevard up here. This is First. That's City Hall where we are now. And so it goes all the way to 2nd and to Railroad. Very little area, but it does include Ocean Avenue. So this is a little area that is really meant to be kind of quaint and a little more low scale. We've got our issues here. Had a lot of, plans stop and start in here. We really see this as the center for our events and public spaces and gathering spaces. And so we think we should plan it appropriately with gateways, entry features, mark those intersections appropriately, keep the height along the avenue lower, let it step back and then go up so the pedestrians don't feel overwhelmed. This is kind of an idea of some kind of gateway feature, keeping the scale lower at right on Ocean so it's not overwhelming. We want to do a festival, what they call a curbless street, and some of you probably been to one of these and didn't even realize what it was, but basically there's no curb. So when you have a festival, you can put your vendors all over, and we want to mark the entry with something. Again, this is conceptual. Don't get hung up on, I don't like that. But these are just ideas of how do you mark the entryway to your cultural district, just, something. And then Seacrest Boulevard, we also want to improve this area here. This is the front of the library. This really should be the front of the library, not the back of the library. It's on a major street. So putting on-street parking here, opening this as the front of the library, creating, again, some kind of either roundabout or paver design in these intersections here so people are aware they're in a different area. This is the land use on the left as it is today. Of course, public use, where the city and all those civic uses are. It's a little mishmash of single family, local retail, commercial, and high-density residential. The high-density is the condos. There are 7 condo buildings in this 28-acre section. So obviously, they're not all within the public use. There's one right here. So this is a challenge for this area. It's quite a huge challenge, quite frankly. What we're proposing is to make this mixed-use medium. We know all of this won't happen because of these 7 condos. So it will take a lot longer. It's a longer view. Remember, when you do a plan, it's 20 years. So you got to be looking at the long view. You're holding the torch for the next group. So this is what we're proposing. Mixed-use medium, which, quite frankly, is not much of a change from the Ocean District Plan, which had mixed-use medium in it. So we're also going to propose an overlay along Ocean to control an Ocean Avenue overlay that will control design.
I got a quick question. What's the difference between an overlay and the future land use or future zoning?
Overlay controls design. It's like setbacks, and we have a federal highway corridor overlay right now that says you can have reduced parking, you have to have on-street parking, you have to have your building up to, urban setbacks.
You're saying it makes it a little bit more confusing?
Makes it a little more confusing, but
Okay.
but it helps control design in areas where you want to control design. In areas that it's more important to you to, in other words, on federal highway, if somebody wanted to build a new local retail building, for let's say that happened, you wouldn't want them to build it back with parking in the front. You'd want to build them up to the corner with parking either on the side or in the back. So that's the purpose.
Is that what the new cities are doing?
That's what we're doing. We've had that. That's called the Federal Highway Corridor Overlay.
Is that the reason why Casa Costa has bad parking?
No.
Okay.
That's not why. No. But
because
if we...
that's what you're saying, is because there's really no parking up front for people to see.
Right.
And the same with Las Ventanas. Is that similar or no?
If you look at the Federal Highway Corridor Plan, what it really applies to, or the overlay, it means that if you're going to build under the current land use, in other words, what's on the ground,
The existing.
what's on the ground, what's on that map, the existing future land use. Remember, we had a talk, I know it's so confusing, that you are going to have to still build to the urban guidelines. In other words, you're going to build your building up to the street, and you have to put your parking either on the side. So if you're going to build them, say a Starbucks, you can't build it in the back and have your parking in the front. You can't do that. You can build a Starbucks.
Acceptance of the new proposed land use mean that the rules for the overlay have to also be changed?
There is no overlay here now. We would have to come up with those rules.
Are we coming up with these rules at the CRA consolidated plan?
They would come as part of the implementation. So at the back of the plan, when you get it, when it's all written up, you'll see a whole implementation of how to implement what you approve.
So is the CRA advisory board going to look at the overlay?
They can. And it's really more geared to developers, and so it's really more geared to how do you lay out your project.
That's the thing that we kind of lost, I think, in a while, is that if we gear everything to developers, we forget about our residences, and so it's kind of like we like to meet somewhere in the middle, so that everyone is a little bit, not happy but not upset.
Everybody goes home not quite happy, right?
Right.
So this again is not from the Ocean District Plan, which we have in place today. This is not the only changes that we're adding down here, this area. So that's that. As you know, the Town Square project is this area here, so that would impact that area. And there's a project coming here, so it would impact that area. So just some ideas. That's today. This is just an example, and again, don't get hung up. I don't like red awnings and stuff. And we do propose shade trees, but we don't show them because it's hard to see the form of the building. So we are proposing not these palm trees.
Vivian, what type of architectural design are we actually looking for at Ocean Ave? Because the project I was privy to look at the other day didn't look anything like that. It was more of a contemporary, modern design. Do we have a
We do not have. We have design guidelines, but those design guidelines determine setback, glazing area, windows, how much window area you have to have on the first floor, second floor. It determines you have to have a setback after so many feet. Those are design guidelines. Now some cities have design guidelines where they want to, like Boca, you have to paint everything pink, and those kind of things. And you have to have Meisner style buildings. I think they've gotten away from that a little bit, but so far we have not had any direction to say we want you to build an X style, a style.
This particular developer told me that city staff said they wanted something a little more contemporary, a little more modern. And, I'm not going to get into the French door dialogue, but
that was
if we're trying to develop a downtown area, I would think that we should have some type of stand and say, look, this is the look we're looking for, and take it from there. Rather than have these builders come in and as they piecemeal these projects in, each one looks a little bit different.
Well, there's two lines of thought to that, and one is it would look maybe a little bit Soviet, where everything looks the same, and that's something that you might not want, and you might regret down the road, or you allow creativity, and buildings are different and would reflect the times that they're built in. It's too, and I honestly, I'm a fan of, creativity. I think, an architect can bring you a great looking building that looks old and it's beautiful, and then they can bring you a great modern one. And I think you go to cities, and what's interesting about them is the architecture and the difference in it, and that's what makes a city fun to walk in. So, if you want to certainly say, that's my opinion, but but certainly staff will opine on, is it, not necessarily do we agree with the architectural style, but is it, does it work for the pedestrian? Is it too much massing for the width of the road? Things like that. We will opine on those things so that the project is not overwhelming like a small road like Ocean or whatever road it's on. so that it doesn't feel like it's looming over the road. There's things that we look at like that. Are there step backs? Does it have enough articulation? Is it just one big, we don't want a big straight wall. It has to have some roof articulation, and, it can't have any blank walls on streets. So those are things that we look at so that the building has interest from each side, each roadside. When you're walking, you're not just, it's a blank wall. Those are not good things to have in a city as you're developing. Downtown goes northeast to 7th and southeast to 12th along Federal Highway and to the FEC Railroad. So basically we're connecting Woolbright to Boynton area.
Woolbright, Southeast 12th?
It's almost. That's Las Ventanas. Las
So it's
Ventanas, right at the north end of Las Ventanas is northeast 12th.
Southeast.
Southeast 12th.
Okay.
I have that habit of messing those up. So that's, this is right here, Ocean, right here, and then the Federal, and then this is the FEC line right here. So that's downtown. Now, that doesn't mean when I say downtown that every part of that downtown gets the same land use and zoning, because it doesn't. If you remember Boynton Beach Boulevard, how it gradually got, lower density to higher density, well, the same thing happens here. This district also has most access to any other. I'm going to skip over these. Get to the land use and zoning. Land use, mixed use, this is from the Federal Highway Corridor Plan on your left here. No, this is actually the existing future land use. Existing future land use.
I got a question about that. We're moving the mixed-use medium to a mixed-use high in the southeast corner of Ocean Avenue, and that is going so that they could build up to 150 feet next to a two-story building?
100.
100. So this is, okay, so that's the zoning.
Yeah.
So then the building to the north of that could build to 150 feet.
This right here, yeah.
But there will be a huge gap between
Right.
that mixed-use high.
Right. But there's a street in the middle. There's a street here.
Tara, my question is that if I make a motion to make a recommendation, is that for a certain zoning, is that something I do here, or
I
just
think-
give my impression so that we can get it for the second meeting to make what we want to happen?
At this point, I think procedurally, the proper thing to do would be to make direction to staff as a board after, right now, if that's what you wish to do. I don't think a motion is necessary, but just a consensus and give direction.
Yeah, give me some consensus.
Okay. Well, as for...
Mike.
And should we wait, I guess I'll ask the board, do we want to wait to the end? Are we taking notes what the pages and stuff that we want to make recommendations to changes, or do you want to do it as we go through?
I think while it's fresh in our mind that, you should make your recommendations as we're going through.
Okay.
That's all I
Well,
think.
there were some that I was going to make earlier, but I'll wait to the end for that. But I would like the southeast corner to stay at mixed-use medium, because we do have that 2 levels. And,
This is 500 Ocean right here.
yep.
So,
And then what is
okay, I
that
just
height?
want to orient people.
And what is that height?
Well, they could go 150, but they're at 7 stories.
Yeah,
They
so
could.
they
That's
could
the
have,
market.
but they're not going to destroy everything they built right now.
No, they're not going to.
So
And
I'd
yet
like
this
to...
hatched area, just so everybody knows, this is mangrove, that hatched area. So everybody's aware that is not buildable. So even though it looks like a huge area, it's actually not buildable. So just, everybody, don't freak out. So.
As for that southeast corner, I would like it to remain mixed-use medium, so that the max height would be 75 feet compared to a max height of 100 feet because of everything that's next to it. The coastal towers, the 500 Ocean, it's kind of like there'll be it won't be even. Let's put it that way. Whereas if we make it mixed-use medium, it will be even. Now, does anybody from the board have any comments on that specific item?
I don't necessarily oppose it, but I don't know if personally I'm going to be...
Let's talk about the corridor plan, and I don't think it's Federal Highway Corridor Plan. The Federal Highway Corridor Plan This is mixed use high. That is what this, because it is in the core. Yeah. Oh.
Hey, mixed use, you give me a number with that, like 2 or 3, so.
Right, because, when you say mixed use,
Right.
low, high, medium, or high,
man, I
we
can't
need to know the zoning because we don't know exactly what we're
Yeah,
doing
we need
now.
a number with that.
Okay. All right. That area that you're talking about, that little dot, and I'm going to need Amanda to help me because my eyeballs are
Page 77.
much smaller. This is this area, and I hope you can see my pointer. Oh, damn. This area right here, right? Okay. You're looking at the Federal Highway Corridor Plan on the left as it's adopted today. In fact, you just approved a project 601 under this plan. That's what you approved it under. So
Point out 601 for me on that.
601, all right, let me find my pointer. It's going to be right here in this area. Here. I'm going to have somebody who has better eyes than me that can see.
Good evening. I'm Amanda Basile. I'm a planner with the Development Department. I want to just explain this map to you guys so you guys have a better idea of what's changing and what's not. To your left, what you're looking at is, as adopted, the Federal Corridor Highway Plan. And to your right is the actual consolidated plan. So the parcel that you guys are talking about, which one's the parcel that you're talking about is actually already proposed to be the mixed-use high in the existing plan. So that's actually not changing.
Well, on page,
Okay.
so you're saying that the zoning is mixed use high, whereas the land use is
Yeah.
mixed use medium.
So there's 3 levels to this. You guys are seeing a series of different maps. Most of the other maps that look like back. So these maps, what you're looking at is, to your left, you're looking at existing future land use,
Yep.
which is currently what's on the ground now.
Yeah.
To your right, what you're looking at is what we're proposing. Now, that's not the planning stages that is already adopted. So there's actually a 3rd level in here. It's what's on the ground, what the future plans say now, and what we're changing to. So to simplify it, we've just been showing these 2. For this area, we've actually shown you the 3rd layer, which is this map. So here, what you're looking at is what's already adopted to be changed on your left, and on your right is what we're proposing. So if you follow me through this,
But,
Sure.
what our job is to not change the things that we do not want changed, correct?
your job is to vote on this plan.
Well, to make recommendations for things that we
Right.
do not want changed. Is that correct?
Well, this is already planned for. So yes and no. What you would be actually voting for is to change the recommendations that already exist. So you can do that, absolutely. I just want to make sure you guys understand. You can.
Understand what's on the ground.
Correct.
And then what's an adopted plan, which you just approved a project the other night under.
Yeah, I'm well aware. And, you're saying that the current land use is mixed-use medium. However, that is not correct. It is considered mixed-use high under the new zoning that we are also proposing now.
Under the proposed future land use.
No, under the Federal Highway Corridor.
So you're saying, okay, so if we don't put the land use on the ground, why do we even have it?
Okay, so process-wise, we're getting to a little bit more of a broader issue.
Yeah.
So process-wise,
Can you explain the process regarding changing the land use and changing the zoning? Because it's a little confusing to me right now.
so the way it happens right now is we have our planning document. The CRA plans are a little bit disjointed. We have 4 or 5 of them that we look to. So what happens is when developers come in, they come in with a proposal. The first thing we do is look at the existing on-the-ground maps. Is it consistent with or is it not? Most of the time it is not, because that is
Can you give us a year for that?
the existing future land use, 80s or 50s? 80s or 50s. The existing future land
I mean,
use
there was a
plan.
1998-2020 plan.
I mean, it's the original.
There's a
well,
2006 plan.
No,
There's,
this isn't the plan. This is the existing land use. So its first inception would have been when the city was created.
And they first adopted the comprehensive plan.
I'm pretty sure there wasn't mixed-use medium and mixed-use high.
No,
when
no,
it-
that's no. Okay, let me do it. So again, 3 levels. What's on the ground now is older documents that we're working from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. That's just showing you what's legally on the ground right now. Now, what we use to determine what we're going to approve or not are these redevelopment plans, which we're looking to consolidate now. So we get a project in, we look at what's on the ground right now, it's not consistent. So we look to the plans that say what we want in the future, our future land use plan.
We look at the last one we've had.
Yes, the most up to date. So the attempt that you're seeing now is us actually consolidating those 4 or 5 plans that we have into one plan. So the reason why it's important to show you this is because we're showing you the recommendations that exist already that we approve by now, and we're showing you the differences if they vary in the new consolidated plan.
And so now is our opportunity to not allow changes that we do not want.
To change the recommendations that already exist, if that's what
Correct.
you're saying, yeah. So if you look at this map, and we made it as clear as we could, again, you're looking at the recommendations to the left and the proposal to the right. These are going to be the actual parcels that are changing. So the next slide kind of shows everything that is consistent from recommendation to the plan. So these are the parcels that we are changing the recommendations for.
The colored parcels or the white?
The colored parcels, yes. What disappeared was everything that is remaining consistent with the previous recommendations.
So either if you don't want the previous recommendation,
All right. So I'm pretty firm with what I said earlier to make it mixed-use medium so that it's a max height of 75. And because all the other areas around that is still not mixed-use high, if that's what I'm correct? Southeast corner of Ocean and Federal.
I'm sorry, Catherine. That is the southeast corner of Ocean and Federal. So that would mean that one of your corners may or may not be consistent with the other corners. So,
That's the funny part is that we already know what's one of the corners, and it's not higher than 75 feet.
correct. But this corner,
So, could we change that corner too to mixed-use medium?
Well, okay, so one other aspect.
You could.
The one other aspect that I should probably say, a lot of this also depends on when development comes in, because there is regulations in place to protect lower density development if it exists already. So if this was to redevelop right now, the MUH one that you are concerned about, they would have to meet residential compatibility standards because there's already existing lower density adjacent to them. So they would not be able to build their 150 feet right next to their 2 stories.
And is that in the consolidated CRA plan?
That is already in our land development regulations. That already exists.
So there's something that even if the developer comes to the CRA cannot give them a complete answer. They still have to go to the land development regulations.
Absolutely. They have to meet
for
code.
that specific.
That is correct.
What was the public input or consensus that you got with regards to height on Federal?
On Federal, the only exact question that related to would be where we showed development. So it varied a little bit because Federal and the downtown. Are you asking specifically around the downtown where we're asking for the most height?
What was it? What was it on Federal and Woolbright? And that what do they call them? Nodules? Nodes.
Okay, so this was the image that we showed for downtown development, and the results were pretty much half and half. Half of the audience was in favor of it and half wasn't. What you're looking at, the diagram to your left, is the third public meeting that we held. About 120 people attended that, and the vote basically came out to 45 to 51.
Well,
And then to your right, you're looking at stakeholders. And their responses were overwhelmingly yes.
The issue is that because it was Public Work 3, there were some developers at that meeting, if I'm not mistaken.
It's a public workshop, so there might be. There might be.
But, you know,
And the same
it's
is
pretty
true for the
interesting to see
stakeholders.
that we do have a majority of the public that says we don't think that building is to scale for appropriate for a downtown. That's what I see, correct?
That it's 51% of who attended this meeting.
That's the majority.
Yep.
Correct.
They-
Of the 150 people that were there, 115 people that were there.
I don't care if there was 10 people, it's still a majority.
Absolutely. And that was the image that they saw.
I think the reason why is because there's no other properties of that height around it.
Yeah, the Marina Village and Costa Costa are around. This is on the corner of Boynton.
Where the chevron is? Okay.
So actually, this would be the before image.
Right. You can see the crane with 500 in the back.
Yeah.
And so it would be next to the boardwalk.
Oh, it'd be on the board.
It would be on the boardwalk. Gotcha.
There are property owners who have invested.
So if we don't want that, we can keep the boardwalk?
Well, it would be really nice to have it in a mixed-use project where people can, walk and come in. That's the goal, The goal is to have people walk and not have to drive their car.
Vivian, the owner of the boardwalk, he submitted a site plan for across the street, and that
Yes.
site, and that particular project, I think, is only 6 stories, correct?
No, it's 8.
8 stories?
8 stories. It's 80, it's 100 and some feet high.
That's still absent the second phase, which hopefully will include a hotel.
Right.
The second phase of One Ocean came in at 15 stories.
Yes, and he submitted a master site plan. That's one of the requirements, and he has a 15-story condo and a hotel, and so he does have a 15-story on there.
But that was a hotel, correct?
Excuse me?
That was a hotel.
No, that was a condo. He does
Condo?
have a hotel, but that's like 8 stories on there. Oh. Okay. Oh, now I'm lost my place. I gotta go back to find. Okay. All right. So
77.
this is the.
No, you were at 77.
I was at 77.
But I guess,
Colors are different from.
yeah.
Okay.
But
so
yeah, my state was that we want that corner, not that corner, but the the south
okay. Let me see if I
east
can.
corner of Ocean Avenue to be mixed use, to remain mixed use medium for the
Okay.
surrounding parcels around it.
And if I can get some direction as a group, if that's something you think you want to carve that corner out. Let me get to that one. Hold on. Hang on. So I'm gonna circle around it. That would be this right here. Carve that out. Correct?
Correct.
So this intersection.
So basically, instead of having, or no, because we can also do it for the south side of it as well.
So
500 Ocean to put it to mixed use medium too. So the north side will be congruent with the downtown and how we're starting to go south. We are
so
starting
all of
to
this go
lose
mixed
height.
use medium, which
On
it make this consistent with that. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay. All right, because I don't think that's going to go mixed use high anyway. But
So we have mixed use high north of Ocean and in between Boynton Beach
so,
Boulevard.
all right, now is that on the ground? That's not on the ground though. It is.
500 Ocean is the high on the ground already.
Right.
Look to your left.
So this is mixed. This is already on the ground. You would be down zoning them.
But it doesn't matter, does it?
Yes, it does.
So they're saying they can't complete their project?
No, you can't down zone it. It's Bert J. Harris law, and we could be liable for.
So the question is that I thought this only affects future use?
If
So
this
you're
is on
saying
the
this will
ground,
do-
so
it does
this is on the
affect current
ground.
use.
This is on the ground right now. So if it's on the ground, then you have to. You can't take it away. You can't, without possibly incurring financial loss to the city.
Okay.
Because I think I'm not sure what is their density, Andrew? So they'd be over their density.
But this is the future land use. But I see what
Maybe.
you're saying, that if we ever, so
They'd be
it's
over their
very
density.
important for us to understand that if we ever go up, we cannot go down again without suffering some financial
No,
hardship.
what's being shown, again, it was the idea of what's existing on the ground, what is planned for, and what we're proposing. The mixed-use high is currently on the ground with 500 Ocean.
Sarah, my question is that, if we put this as mixed-use high and then in the future put it as mixed-use medium, we will suffer, because of our future land use, we will suffer financial, possibly from the owner.
The way that works is if you have a existing building that was properly built under its existing future land use, zoning, and CRA plan, and then you turn it into what they would refer to as a non-conforming use, you could have an issue. In terms of setting a future land use that is higher than what's currently built on the ground, changing that does not necessarily create a problem in the future. It might. You could always have that issue. However, you're not turning something that was constructed within the limits of the law into a non-conforming use, which is what I'm hearing them describe.
I see what you're saying.
So you don't want to downzone existing buildings because they were built permissibly within the law. But if you change something to permit higher than what's on the ground, and then later change it down a little bit, but you're not creating any non-conforming uses, you still have the right to do that. Someone could still sue you. That's always a possibility when you change property rights. However, you're not creating as bad of a situation for yourself. So I hope that answered your question. I'm going to stop talking now.
Okay, yeah. So I just want to state that, if there's already a building built there and we try to say, hey, this building is too high, we don't like it, we can't do that without suffering financial.
I wouldn't recommend it. You can do what you like, and there could be legal consequences to making that choice.
And then my other question is, let's say future land use, we do it mixed use high, and then we say, well, we don't want you to build that high. Can we do that and not suffer legal consequences?
Well, I'm sure your planners can fill you in on the rest of your code. In addition to having to meet your density requirements under your code and your future land use and your CRA plan, there are a number of other provisions of the code that, as she has previously mentioned, deal with compatibility, height, et cetera, that are valid reasons to say yes or no to a project, and which you as the city and CRA can operate with discretion in approving. So it's not simply about, it says it on here, anyone who comes to build within the CRA and city has to comply with all of the regulations for building, which include the compatibility, et cetera, and so forth. So there's more that goes into that decision.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I also want to stress that what we're looking at is land use. Height is really looked at under zoning. So what's coming in as recommendations in our consolidated plan are land use changes, not zoning changes.
The issue is that when you change the land use, you change the zoning.
Yes, and that's why we looked at the structure at the beginning. You're not necessarily changing the zoning because there's no zoning proposals in here. What you're doing is you're giving them a bracket. So the
Correct.
bracket will be changing.
To change the height.
To change everything, to change uses, to change
Correct.
height. Yes.
Well, that's
Okay.
kind of what
Yes.
I'm at, is I'm saying that, I don't want there to be up to over 100 or 150 feet there in the zoning.
Absolutely, and again, that's like location specific,
Yeah.
so depending on where it is, there might be some other standards that prohibit that type of height. In this case, the
But
residential
that's the whole issue,
compatibility.
is that we can't see that now.
Right, because that's land development. All we are approving right now is land use. Those are disjointed.
But that's what I'm
There.
saying, is that if we don't approve the land use, we don't have to worry about that in the future. So if we say, we don't, if we only make it 75 feet,
So-
we are more or less incident because of the properties to the south of that it's going to be in compliance with our laws.
But again, the residential compatibility is applicable wherever there are residential or lower densities. So that is not really a land use problem. That is, those regulations exist to protect the lower density development.
Next
So
to
it's
a-
not- yes.
next to a
So
higher density.
Even if that's general commercial or mixed use high, no matter what it is, those standards overlay on that to protect the residential standards, the residential development.
So are we saying that we are confusing developers by saying that they can build a certain height under the land use and then not under our development regulations?
Residential compatibility standards are pretty,
Okay.
all cities have them.
Okay.
Most cities have them.
And we have them.
And we do have them.
I will love to look at them tomorrow.
Absolutely. And I mean, I should also say, like, we're talking about really complicated stuff. One of the last things, the implementation guide is really going to be what breaks it down. And in there, one of the first recommendations are going to be that we do an LDR audit to make sure that our land development regulations are consistent with what we're proposing in our plan. So right now, if there are changes that are needed in our LDRs, they're going to be driven by this plan that we are adopting.
But, so, what is the properties to the, is that Sterling Village, the properties to the south?
Yes.
And what is so is someone able to tell me what is the max height? Because that is, I guess, high-density residential. Are they allowed to build to the 100 feet there? Next to something that is 2 to 3 stories?
No.
Yeah, the mixed-use medium. I'm still trying
Even if
to
a
see.
development comes in right now
Yeah.
under mixed use high. Mike, do you know what the height caps for residential?
If you don't have an answer, that's fine. I'll wait till tomorrow.
I would have to look it up in the
Okay,
code
that's
because
fine.
it varies a little bit, but there are protections in place, and again, those LDRs can change if we see fit once this is
Okay.
adopted.
Moving on.
Again, this local retail commercial along here, most of you have driven along this section. It's hit or miss here. So we're recommending mixed-use median. We kind of see probably garden style or, maybe townhouses or depending on the assemblage that occurs. And that's really what is key. How much land can you get and what is the market? So we want to connect people walking from here to here. This is the idea, that you would have a nice streetscape here to here. This is the idea, creating from Boynton Beach Boulevard, from here, here, and down. That's really the extent of what we're talking about. I'm going to skip over these because you've probably seen. And I think, did we do downtown? I don't think we did. This is downtown. Okay, now we're going to go to federal. I hope we didn't skip over federal.
Vivian, just so I'm clear in my mind, that Woolbright federal corner node, that would be allowed up to 100 feet? Is that what you're telling me?
We're going to go into that now because that's part of federal.
Okay, thank you.
So, and I'm going to skip right to that because I don't want to bore you with streetscapes. I think you've probably had enough of that. On your left is the existing Federal Highway Corridor Plan. This is what is adopted today. And this is what we have approved plans under. Las Ventanas was approved under that. We actually had an approved plan down here where Sunshine Square is. It's called the Ellipse. This is all 4 corners were recommended to go basically as an activity node, a development node, connecting here to here. That was the plan.
Do we have a future current zoning of it?
Probably. Yep. I'm going to get to that.
Wonderful.
So the changes, this is the change from Federal Highway Corridor Plan to this plan, if you want, unless you give us direction. So basically, from here to here, here to here, we're dropping this down. I can't see my glasses. This is MLK. We're making this mixed use low. This is actually to make something consistent here with density, the top one. This one is mixed use going actually down. Is this going down, going in density higher, Amanda? I can't tell with the color, I'm sorry. And then this is a change here, right here. This one, right here, is it going up in intensity. Here, mixed use high. So that's the change.
Is there any current mixed-use low there?
There is mixed use medium at Las Ventanas. And
My question is that in the existing federal highway corridor, is there any mixed-use low?
Is there any mixed use low in this quarter? No.
Okay.
No.
And that's because even though 601 is zoned mixed-use low, it's under the new zoning regulations that makes it mixed-use medium.
No, it's under the plan on your left. That's the only plan that's in effect, is the one on your left here.
No. I saw it, it says MUL2. And is that mixed-use low or mixed-use medium?
Mixed use low.
So you're telling me, you just told me it
one
was mixed-use
clarification.
medium, though.
Okay.
One clarification. The existing federal corridor plan proposes zoning, not land use. So we transitioned the zoning to land use. Sorry, I'm looking at your faces. I can't help it.
No, I mean, that's just,
So so when we're talking about the land use, mixed use low, it doesn't exist yet. This is one of the things that at the beginning of the PowerPoint, we said we want to add in mixed use low as a land use.
Right.
So what you're looking at here, the change is, if we're only talking about land use, in the corridor plan as it is right now, it would propose what is equivalent to mixed use medium. And the proposal in the plan is going to mixed use high.
Not along the 601 federal.
No, that is going mixed use medium. That is consistent. If you see, that actually went off the plan. So that is actually, if we go back one more, that's all right. So if you see, again, this is a proposal side by side. If we click one more time, what's consistent drops off. So those recommendations are staying the same as the plan already says now. So what you're looking at in this picture, those colored blocks are the changes.
And so, I can see the dotted lines. There's no, there's only two streets, so we have to guess in between MLK and Woolbright. But we're having mixed-use high north of Southeast 2nd? Or Southeast 5th?
So the mixed-use high node, again,
Where's the boundaries of the mixed-use high?
it's the darkest purple. So if you actually look, all the actual mixed-use high node.
I understand that, but there's no streets on it, so I'm asking you for the streets.
For which one?
No. Mixed-use high, where streets does it end?
The downtown goes, the mixed-use high goes down to, I'd have to say it's probably about, that would be, this is Sterling Village. Oh, come on, Pointer. This is Sterling Village here. Sterling. So then it would go, this is
It's Southeast 2nd Avenue.
Southeast 2nd, right here.
Southeast 2nd Avenue is Ocean Avenue, though.
Ocean Avenue, Southeast 1st Avenue, Southeast
Southeast
2nd Avenue. So it's essentially to the end of where 500 Ocean is. That's 500 Ocean, exactly.
Okay, so I see it now. So where there's empty space is Pence Park, and then that's the difference. Okay.
So we're not recommending a change. There's really not any change recommended in there, so. Well, this is the change. Here's the change. That represents the change from left to right. So that's what either we need your input on, we don't like either side, we hate it all, or
Our page, is this page 77? And you have it separated into two different slides?
this is 77. Now, I don't know if this shows up. Okay, you have that?
So yeah, ours is on the same page.
Okay. So when you look at this, you're going to see what's being recommended as changes. That's it.
But the main issue I have is that we do not know the changing in the zoning.
No. We're not proposing that. We're proposing land use.
So what's the difference for changing zoning compared to changing land use?
Land use is going to determine what it can be. Again, mixed use.
Well, no, zoning can do that too.
So we are not proposing a zoning map. However, for the mixed-use high districts, we do indicate where we would want them. This node at Woolbright, those four corners, if you look at the infill page, which would be... So, right, so if you look at your page 79, it gives you a little bit more details on proposals for that intersection. So that calls it out as mixed-use high. The density would be 60 dwelling units per acre, and the zoning would be MU4. That is that new zoning district that does not exist yet, the one that we talked about in the structure at the beginning of the presentation.
Okay. So here you're giving us the land use and the zoning, but you didn't give it to us on the prior map.
We only talked about zoning when we talked about mixed-use high. So all of the mixed-use high proposals have zoning.
So, and any of the mixed-use medium does not, and none of the mixed-use low does not?
No. And the maps, we're not going to propose a zoning map within here. The consolidated plan will not include a zoning map.
Except for mixed-use high?
It will not include a zoning map.
But you're letting us know what it is, future is going to be the future zone for this.
I'm letting you know what the vision is for these four corners. So if we go back all the way to the beginning of the presentation when we talk about planning strategy, the idea was that your downtown is your primary node and this becomes your secondary node. So that translated into the zoning districts, which there are two levels under your high now. The high would go at downtown and the second level would go at Wilbright.
So you're proposing two downtowns for Boynton Beach?
No.
Well, you just said that with the mixed-use high being part of downtown. But I'm going to let you guys finish because I'm going to keep on talking otherwise.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And if I could go back, maybe I'm going to try to still give you some idea of the connectivity, and I think that's what's missing here is how does this all connect? What is the planaries? Why did we recommend this? What is the point of this? And I'm going to try to get back to that.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, just go
All right.
through.
Well, I just want to, because a lot of people miss this, that we want people, this is not a big walk here to here. We want people to be able to, who live here, because we do have a bunch of people living right at this intersection here. We want them to walk in between. We want that to happen. We want the residents of Las Ventanas and anything new and existing to be able to walk in between here. That's the goal. And not to leave them hanging out there as a dangling part of
Vivian, I don't think that's the issue of the walkability of there. And I understand the interconnected and walkability neighborhood. I think that every meeting I ever gone to, the first question is what's the height? What is the height?
Okay.
I want to know if a developer, I can see why developers get confused. I'm sitting up here, I'm totally confused. I really am. And it's my own fault. But with that being said, okay, I want to know what is I notice land use versus zoning and all, that's confusing in itself. I want to know what's a builder comes to me, and I'll use the Riverwalk project example. The builder comes to me tomorrow, okay, if we adopt this plan, and he says, I want to put a building there, what is the maximum height that he could put if we adopt this plan?
If you adopt it, it would be this.
Give me a number.
To your left.
It's right here.
So he could go 100 feet if we adopt it.
Right.
Okay, if we don't adopt this, what is the maximum height he could go now?
If you don't adopt it, it would be fall back on the current federal highway corridor plan, which is 40 units the acre, 75 feet high.
Thank you.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I do have to say that is an oversimplification of it, though, because height...
That's what we need, oversimplification. Thank you.
But height, really, you guys have, and staff has a chance to review height compatibility standards. That's all under the land use regulations, which is a completely separate process for that, called our master plan and our site plan. So although this does affect their development rights, it does not by any means say that that parcel can build 150 feet because of all the other levels of regulation that we do have in place already. That's all.
In other words, it's not a guarantee. There's a lot of regulations that go into.
And that's the issue, is that developers want guarantees. They don't want to be able to look at something and say, no, there's another document and then that says you can, but there's a third document that says you can't.
Well, their planners and their architects know how to read the code.
No.
They understand that.
I understand who they are, but it's just that it's confusing for the residents as well, because they also have to understand it too.
Well, you couldn't put all of that into a CRA plan, then it would be that big. So because I don't know if you've seen our LDRs. They're that big. How big are they, Mike?
But
About
this
that
is
big?
changing our LDRs, if I'm not mistaken.
It will
Well,
implement
if we have a
some
new zoning,
changes.
doesn't that change our LDR?
Yes, but
Okay,
it doesn't
so the
go
answer
into
was
the
yes.
plan. It doesn't, we're not creating a whole new CRA plan with the LDRs in it. That's not how it works. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to make recommendations to change some LDRs to be consistent with whatever you tell us.
So if we approve the CRA plan and we don't, and then the city commission, whoever they are, doesn't approve the land development regulation, what happens to the CRA consolidated plan?
You're going to be inconsistent.
And so what happens?
You're going to send a message of unpredictability to the development community.
So you're saying now is what we need to do to determine the land development regulations?
Well, you need to set the general guidelines now. A plan is a general guideline. It is not telling you that you have to have how many plants you have to have, what kind of irrigation, what your civil engineering has to be. Those are all in the land development regulations. I don't think you want to get into that level of detail, do you?
Well, the main land development regulation that we're getting into right here is height.
Yes, and that's under zoning. Yes.
And so
if you
land
want
development
to
regulation is
cap
under
height,
zoning.
then let it. Then
Can I offer some clarification from a legal perspective
Thank
that may
you.
help just frame this? Because land use is very confusing. The state requires local governments, including the city, to have a comprehensive plan which establishes land uses. The comprehensive plan is a very broad conceptual document that usually allows a lot of flexibility in terms of the type of development. When you have a CRA within a jurisdiction such as Boynton, you have a CRA plan that is also, for all intents and purposes, part of that comprehensive plan. That's a slight oversimplification, but I think it'll do for tonight. So that is your big, broad brush picture. It's establishing maximum densities and intensities. It's not usually concerned with height specifically or setbacks and et cetera. It can do height, and the CRA plan does do height. So it's density and height here. We'll say that. So that is what's being discussed, are changes to the CRA plan in the land uses. What I hear staff saying is that, and what's legally required, is once your comprehensive plan and CRA plan are in effect, your land development code and zoning code can be more restrictive and more specific than what you've set out in your general plan, but they have to be consistent because they are required to follow the comp plan. They do not have, being consistent does not mean if you have a high density land use that all of the zoning within that has to permit that highest density. It's, as we said before, the zoning code and the land development regulations come in with a myriad of different considerations for a project to consider when they're coming forward. So when you get a project at the zoning level, you get all of the setbacks and the height and the architecture and all of those things that the code says. The third confusing thing, and I've heard staff talk about zoning maps and that they're not recommending changes to a zoning map right now. Well, the reason is because a property owner would come in or a developer would come in and ask for a zoning change to be consistent with the comp plan. And as part of that, they're going to show how they're consistent with the rest of the zoning code. So you don't just universally change the zoning map, property owners usually come and do that. That doesn't mean you don't create regulations for these land use categories, which deal with things you're talking about, some of the aesthetics and everything. So that is my attempt at a broad brush to kind of put this in levels. I'm looking at city staff to make sure I haven't misspoke because I'm CRA attorney, not their city attorney, but just to kind of put that in perspective on the layers that you're dealing with here. And so tonight, my understanding is we're talking just about the land use changes, and as a result of whatever is ultimately adopted, which isn't happening tonight, you're just giving recommendations, they would come back with recommendations on changes to the code to make it consistent with this. Did that help?
That helped.
Okay.
So my question is do we make recommendations to land use or zoning?
land use.
This is recommendations for land use.
Thank you.
And that would be the broad brush conceptual.
Okay, moving along. Federal Highway North, we don't really have a lot of recommended changes. More like to be consistent with what is happening. This is on the right is existing. I mean, on the right is proposed, left is existing. I'm going to try to get to where you can see. This is just an example, and you can see a lot of these type projects already built, so I don't have to do that. Oh, where's the one that shows what we're changing? Where is that? Okay, click it. Why isn't it changing? Is it not changing? Okay. All right, well, I'll just have to point my pointer at it. We're just putting this to high-density residential, which is that 15.
Yep, I see it.
15 units per acre right here, this kind of darker brown here, along here. We actually put mixed use at this intersection here, which is Gateway, only because we wanted just a little bit of commercial here. It is if that wanted to come about, there is already some there, but we thought we might encourage maybe some reinvestment in there. The other change down here, special high density residential again. This we did change that to be consistent with what is on the ground. Sometimes things are built, like Sterling Village is built above density. A lot of the older condo projects along South Federal are built above density, so they're not consistent, and you want them to be consistent so if something happens, they could build back. We downzone this because, or not downzone, change land use because for some reason this was, pretty high, and we just put it down.
You know, does the board see where her pointer is?
Can you see my pointer?
Right down there.
It's like
Okay.
watching one of those movies where they
Yeah.
move the camera around. So right here, and you can see this is actually, we're taking it down. This is actually,
Can you say those streets that these are on? Because
this is the canal, the C16 right here.
and it is okay.
Right. Okay, going up.
Is that a street though?
No, that's a canal.
So where's MLK on this map?
MLK is going to be, I'm going to say, no, south. It's going to be south down here, probably. North of that? No. Yeah. Yeah, it's not on this
It's
map.
not on this map. Okay. So the
Yeah.
okay. I
Yeah,
see where Gateway is.
Gateway's
and then
going to
I
be where
infer
this
from Gateway.
little node of, it's right here. See, right now, we're proposing a little bit of mixed use right here. Just a little bit. There's a gas station here. I'm sure you guys all know that one. And then on Gateway, there's a little bit of retail right when you turn left off Federal or right off Federal, depending on where you're turning. So those are just some minor changes from what's proposed. We do have mixed use low here, which is capped at 45. That just allows somebody, if they wanted to put some garden style apartments and they wanted to have a coffee shop or something to that effect, or retail and office on top, they could do that as well. Just to give some flexibility to get something developed here. There is a need for that. There are some pieces of land, not big ones, so we'd like to get some infill in there and clean that up. There's definitely a need for that in there. That's it. There's nothing. I don't think anything radical in there proposed. We wanted to fix this for sure, and.
Can we next month or so? Can we get the kind of what we saw with Federal South, where only see the changes?
Yeah, and I don't know why this one didn't come. I think we had that, but I don't know what happened to it. Yep.
So I'm going to escape from here because something tells me it's under it.
All right. Yes, we can. We can. But again, they're not. We're not proposing any radical. We're not upzoning anything. We're not.
That's kind of scares me because you're saying that nothing here is radical, but on South there is.
Well, we don't have any major parcels to propose anything on. There's nothing, there's no areas. It's mostly, if you look, this is single family for the most part. There's some condos, there's parks.
So it's not, it's just, everything is still consistent with what's currently there.
Right, and that the reason, and this is not much different than before, because this is a primarily single family or built out area. So when you look at it, we looked at it in '06, which was the Federal Highway Corridor Plan update, there really wasn't any, we didn't see people coming in and assembling all these single family houses. It wasn't like there was vacant land here. So we didn't see that occurring. You know, you have to kind of look at what you have and propose, you know, where could growth go? You're not there, unless we're going to sell these parks. I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening. So where can growth go? We have to accommodate it, or we can put up a wall. I guess we can do that too. So that's that. High density residential, again, that means 15 units to the acre, max height 45. On North and South Federal, there is not, primarily, the height is 45, which does not change from the existing Federal Highway Corridor Plan. This, again, is to be consistent with the single-family nature that is primarily along these corridors. So, and a mixed-use low could be 20 units the acre, which, again, is a lot of projects that have already been built under the Federal Highway Corridor Plan. Many townhome projects that you'll see along the corridor have been built under this. And again, 45 feet height. And we're allowing the flexibility of having that commercial use optional. So this is a site, and this is what it could be. And people did support that. And Heart of Boynton, we are not proposing really any changes to that plan. We're just including it in our plan because it's a big part of what we do. So we are not making any major changes. We are proposing basically this has already been done anyway, the mixed use, we've already made that happen, and proposing high density residential in here to connect these two commercial areas here, which I think we've already talked about with you guys, is making that happen to increase.
Is it possible to get a legend as well?
A legend, like where? Like,
well, there's colors and there's
what
not,
they mean. Yeah, I know. We talked about
there's
this.
nothing on the left map, so.
I try to say it high density residential.
So,
I know.
yeah, because that would.
I know it takes a while to learn what all these are. I know.
Because this is a little difficult with all the coloring involved with no legend.
It is true. I understand. I totally do. Yes, I'm going to do a synopsis for the CRA board, and I'll send that out to you, which will be like a bulleted.
And similar to the Federal South North, can we get just what is changing as well?
Yes, we can do that. And I'll try to make it a little bit bigger, so maybe it'll be easier to read. So, and we'll do a, what does LRC mean? It means local retail. You know, I'll do the legend so you know what it means. Yeah. And I'll try to put streets on there, at least the major ones like Seacrest, MLK, so you can orient yourself. But north is always north, just so you know. So there's some recommended changes, but not too much. We want to obviously redevelop public works. That was in the original Heart of Boynton plan. That hasn't really changed, but we're recommending that we go to, residential there. So, and this has already occurred. We already rezoned our property here, but so this still stays single family on this side, on west of Seacrest. And we do add high density residential here, which would be your townhouse or garden apartment style here. So, and these are all the projects that we've talked about. This would be an example project of the high density residential on MLK, just a design example, not, again, don't get hung up on what we propose there. And this would be an example of a commercial project at the northeast corner of MLK and Seacrest. So if we, So if we wanted to make changes and have MLK to remain, is it commercial? Okay.
It is not
I'll go
commercial.
back
Only
to
certain parts of it is commercial.
Right.
And the middle parts that the CRA owns is residential?
Nope. Nope, let me go back to the map, so I'll show you.
The properties east of MLK, Bell's MLK Quick Stop, is that that's zoned residential?
This is, right now it is residential, but it's a lower density. We're proposing it to be a little bit higher density.
Okay.
And then this is actually mixed use here. And this is local retail commercial. So we want to keep that because we want to get a grocery store. We do own some property here. We don't own all the property. We do own some property here. We don't own all the property.
What is the downside of zoning it mixed use low so commercial and residential can go there?
There isn't unless you require them to have true mixed use, which a grocery store won't do. In other words, the grocery store is not going to put apartments above. Not unless you're in a very, very dense area like Miami or an area like that. It's,
okay.
Yeah.
So there's certain places that we can have light commercial, and
Yes.
then where there's high density residential, we can give them the option of mixed use low to have commercial or residential, and there's no changing in the height or density.
I think this is, if you're trying to attract a retail center anchored by a grocery store, I think this would be appropriate. This high-density residential supports this right here. That's the goal.
So mixed use does not support that light
I
commercial
think
there.
if we're going to stick to, you have to have a mix of uses, and there's not enough land really here to do that, and no one's going to put it, on top. That I know, it doesn't work. That's the feedback I've gotten for years from developers. Unless you're in a very dense area like Miami or Lauderdale has one that's like that, but no, actually it stands alone. It's just up and down, but there's no mix of uses. It's just
So I'm not trying to change the light.
What do you want to do? You want to change a local retail commercial? You
No,
want to change?
changing the HDR to mixed use low. And
So,
With the 20, do you?
yeah, okay, so one of the things, our mixed-use districts right now have a flexibility of uses. They don't necessarily always require commercial and residential. And what you're seeing, some of the developments that are going in as mixed use right now are coming in as pure residential. And one of the things we wanted to make sure we do in the heart of Boynton are attract actual service uses like a grocery store. So the reason we're using conventional zoning along MLK instead of the mixed-use districts is to ensure that we get services and residential there. So if you look at MLK at both sides, we have conventional zoning, general commercial to the east and local retail commercial to the west, to be our anchor points for service uses, commercial development. And then the high density residential is to make sure we get the rooftops and bodies there to use it. When we do mixed use, in some places we do want that flexibility to go either or, but we thought it was really important that MLK does get their commercial uses, which is why we opted for conventional zoning here, conventional land use.
all right, well, my vote would be to put mixed use one because Vice Chair McCray, was that always commercial, or was that where there used to be homes there east of MLK Quick Stop?
It was commercial.
It was commercial in the past. Okay, so that was my recommendation, that we give them the option and the higher density of the 20 units at 45 feet compared to 15 units at 45 feet.
We can do that. And if you look at this diagram, this actually came copy and pasted from the existing Heart of Boynton plan. And you can see the way it's laid out. It is laid out the way the conventional zoning is. It has commercial on both sides and then residential in the middle. Again, because the previous plans don't really call out specific land uses and zoning, it kind of talks really generally. They were really crafty how they said they want residential or commercial or residential, like it means something different. So what we did is we kind of laid it out black and white, that we definitely want commercial here and we want residential. And that's part of why we did the residential 15, because if we didn't do that, the highest I could get would have been 11.
But if you go to mixed use, if that's something you want.
If you're saying you want a density that allows density and that allows for commercial there,
Doesn't force it.
and that's kind of even better.
Right. So you
So
can
can I-
change this color, this
the
high
HDR
density
to mixed use, and
Right.
that way the corners would be required to be commercial, whereas the middle can be residential.
Right, to
and-
support the development of that.
Does the board have any comment on
Anybody
this,
join in?
or is it just me?
No?
Can we just confirm that we want to leave both ends as commercial and local retail, and then just the center will turn into mixed-use low? Is that correct? So there in the middle, they'd have the option to do commercial, but the ends will say pure commercial.
That sounds great.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Vice Mayor McCray, is that what you're saying the community would want? Okay. And
Okay.
for point of clarity, what is MDR?
Medium density residential.
That's what it's zoned for now?
Yeah.
As we speak, that's what it's zoned for now?
11 DUs, 11 units to acre.
And we want it up to 20? Thank you.
That would, from what I'm hearing, is a recommendation.
And that would definitely be a walking street because it's in between two bus routes.
Yes, it is. Correct. I always do that. Where's Teresa? How do I get back to that? For industrial, there's really no recommended changes in here as far as land use. We're recommending keep it industrial. We just want to improve it, make the appearance better. There's an emerging arts center, arts group in there. So we're not really addressing anything about the land use because we think it's important to keep that as a business and a, generator of income for the city primarily. But we do want to possibly look at expanding the type of uses that can go in there. Just like the breweries that we really couldn't accommodate, but we did through code changes, we might want to be looking at some of those kind of things and having a little more flexibility to allow artisans and those kind of things in there. So we're just recommending increasing visibility of the area and beautifying it with sidewalks, parking. There is no parking, really. People just park on the...
Unofficially, that's the arts district, right?
Yes.
That's right. I think that we got to, if we're going to keep it like that, and unofficially, let's make it official and put some time and effort into doing this.
There's only one part that's the arts district, you have to be careful because if you look at this map, then aerial, the only part that's actually the arts is like right here. Then all the rest is not. So I think if we called it the arts district, everybody might go, well, I don't do art.
I think it definitely improves the area because, in Miami, do they have art districts with other uses or is it only art?
It has really changed. Wynwood has.
Wynwood, yes.
It's pushed out. Probably, I was there recently and I did see one auto repair guy left, but it has all of those auto type uses, which is what it used to be, are almost all gone. So we have to be careful. We don't.
Is that what we want to happen? Do we want to have more of an art district or an auto district?
Well, that's our only industrial zone, so I wouldn't necessarily want to force.
No, that's not. There's an industrial zone still in the heart of Boynton, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, there's a thin.
There's an industrial zone in
right just west
southeast
of Federal,
First Avenue, if I'm not mistaken. And this is, I think, will definitely give more value to that area if we call it arts instead of crafts. Or, maybe I'll ask a couple mechanics and see if they would rather be called craftsmen or artsmen.
Yeah.
Or artists.
Ask that AC guy. Who's right here. We're just trying to broaden it so we don't exclude anybody, but we're including everybody. Because there are going to be people there, and there are people that own their property, and, they're going to be there, and we don't want to exclude them. So Rolando, he leases a bunch of places right here, and then releases them, subleases them out to artists. And we want to acknowledge that. And however, if you make it all art, I will tell you there's no buildings that accommodate food, and we would have to change code for that because it's not allowed in industrial. So that's why breweries don't have food in them. So
the question is are they allowed to have food trucks there?
They can. And the problem that we have right now is there's nowhere to put them. If you've been there, and I know you have, there's very hard to park them anywhere. That's a real big problem, is there's nowhere for people to park, nowhere for people to walk except in the road. And that's a problem. So that's one of the things that we're talking about in here, is to change this condition to this condition where people can walk, people can park, and we also provide separation between the single-family neighborhood to buffer it from the industrial.
Not that I want this to happen, but could we buy property to put it into a parking lot?
We could. I mean, we could look at it and see what's available.
Okay.
And try to maybe put it in the middle if possible.
Right, and that way with the parking lot, we could have the food trucks.
Right. Yeah, they've done that in Wynwood as well. So implementation steps, these are just some of them that we've briefly touched on. There will be a much more comprehensive list, and that will be also more project-oriented. Conduct a full audit of the land development regulations, submit comprehensive plan amendments, create an R4 zoning district if that's something you approve of, create a mixed-use node zoning district if you approve that, create an Ocean Avenue promenade overlay, which we talked about tonight, create TOD height incentivized bonus within the downtown area, and that's something we didn't talk about, but if you want to do workforce housing, if you want to attract offices, could we craft some kind of incentive to make that happen, and look at what other cities have done to do that, and some cities have done that. Create a public parking plan that would require us to work with a consultant, but that has, in order to pay for it, we have to have it in the plan. So we have to have these things in the plan. That's why you'll see them. Adopts complete street guidelines, and that will be through the city, but we want to put it in the plan in case the city wants us to help them do that financially. And then also to get to what's on the ground. This is the confusion I think all of you are having, and I had when I first got here. What can you do on the ground? Well, it says one thing, but the plan says another. So there's the future land use map is not consistent with what the plan says. And this is what I think is very confusing for all of you. And I know Harry and I have talked round and round about this. Go ahead and initiate the land use and zoning for target redevelopment sites so that we can get those into maybe the development pipeline a little quicker. So that's an important one.
So it says city initiated.
Because only the city, if we don't own the land, because we've done our own on some of our parcels, but if we don't own the land, we can't do it. But the city can initiate on any land. So the city can initiate land use and zoning on any parcel.
But only for upzoning, because if we
Yes. Yes. Now, the city has downzoned, and I will give you an example, on the west side and for the Heart of Boynton plan to implement it. But what we did is we bought the land. The CRA bought the land. It was a
But
partnership.
we were not going to sue ourselves.
Right. So that way we prevented the suing. So that's how we partner together. We do things like that.
So what is this, the last bullet point, the only thing that the city will do, and the rest is what the CRA
No,
will do?
it's a partnership. It's all, most of the things that
Okay.
we will do are going to be projects, things that, and they're not on here yet. They're going to be, we're actually going to we're going to hire a consultant to do the parking study and a parking plan. We're going to hire somebody to do probably complete streets. We'll probably do that for the CRA. We will probably have somebody do Ocean Avenue Promenade. We will pay for these things and oversee them with city staff as well. But a lot of what you're going to see are economic development, community policing, marketing, events, the things that we're already doing, but then additional projects coming out of this. So working with developers, creating incentive programs for developers to get the things we want, like office, hotel, a grocery store downtown. How do we just work on incentive programs to do those things? So you'll see that in the implementation. So if you look at the downtown vision and master plan, it has a very long implementation list. And we've done a lot of it, but you can't do it all because there's only so much money to go around.
So is there anything else?
That's it. So if you want to give us some, we got the, did I hear?
20 more minutes, all right.
Okay.
Right. You don't have it up there, but June 21st, I'm just saying stakeholder discussion questions. It said example, crime, image, and land of land. What is land of land?
Was that at the beginning?
No,
June
no,
21st.
June 21st, it's stakeholder discussion.
Oh, this is,
question.
this is from notes that were taken by somebody that did minutes at the meeting for us.
It said, what is your opinion are impediments for the redevelopment of East Boynton Beach? Examples, crime, image, land of land.
Lack of land, I believe that should have been.
What was it?
Lack of land.
Lack of
I
land.
think it's just a typo. Should have been lack of land.
Yeah, I think that's a typo.
Autocorrect.
Yeah, autocorrect.
Thank you. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Always check when you type in public.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna, if there's no objection, I'm gonna let it up to public comment, and then the board can speak. Does that sound good, or would you have any
Can I
comments
make
first?
a motion to just take a 5-minute pause? I think we
Abs-
all got a little inundated by all that. Can we just pause before we move into all the extra stuff?
Before public
implementing,
comments?
please.
Sure.
Just a little bit.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor of 5-minute recess? Aye.
Aye.
5-minute recess. All right, let's begin with, as I stated before, are we going to have the board speak? No, we're eating. Public comments. Does the board have any issues of me telling it 5 minutes and then ending it at 8 minutes? Okay.
8 minutes. What?
Right, it's not a 3-minute public comment.
Okay. Are we back in order?
We are back in order.
Okay, thank you. My name is Linda Cross. I live at 625 Casaloma Boulevard, Unit 601 in Boynton Beach. I'm the current chair of the CRA Advisory Board. I come to you this evening to provide remarks regarding your consideration of the proposed updated consolidated land use plan for the CRA district. We were in a meeting until after 11 o'clock last Thursday night. Is there any wonder you need more time to go through this? And that's why we really don't have a recommendation yet for it. First of all, I do want to express my thanks to the tireless efforts of the city staff and the CRA staff for putting this consolidated plan together. There's multiple variables, existing developments, socioeconomic conditions, and their thoughtful consideration of what's best for the city of Boynton Beach. They've been working on this for over a year. These are consummate professionals in their field. They're knowledgeable, independent, passionate, and eager to serve the community, not any particular builder or any particular landowner. I also want to thank them for staying. They all stayed past 11 o'clock last Thursday night when we had our advisory board meeting. The CRA Advisory Board has not yet provided a recommendation to the CRA Board on whether or not to adopt this plan or whether there are changes that should be considered. We expect to do that at our August 4th meeting. We are also looking for an interim meeting. We're hoping for July 21st to make sure that we get our recommendation done by the August 4th meeting. I would like to add that we did have one motion on the table to maintain the current height and density at the intersection of Woolbright and Federal, to have it remain as mixed-use 3, which is the 75 feet, 40 unit density. But that motion did not pass. However, it didn't pass not because it wasn't or did not have merit. It didn't pass because a majority of the advisory board just felt like we weren't ready to make a decision yet. So that's why it didn't pass, but not because we didn't think the motion had merit. The CRA Advisory Board, we had our first meeting on February 4th. We've had 5 meetings since then, or including that time, and each meeting we've had several hours with presentation speakers, educational sessions. We are really committed to this board, to this advisory board. We are doing everything we can to be prepared to make recommendations to the CRA board. And so I just wanted you to understand how much time and effort we are spending, and we are committed to this process. The CRA has had several public workshops with respect to this plan. In all cases, whether it be the public or the stakeholders, there's overwhelming support for most of the concepts and ideas expressed in the plan. However, when it comes to density and height, there is a clear 50-50 split, although maybe it's 51-49, but there's clearly a 50-50 split from the public. The stakeholders obviously are, they want it as high and as many as they can get, but there is clearly a 50-50 split from the public. And basically, that means that there's no clear guidance, I don't think, for either the CRA Advisory Board or the CRA Board as to what to do. And so we must evaluate the information that we get from the city staff, from the professionals, to decide what is the best overall outcome for the city of Virginia Beach. Boynton Beach.
It was on a roll.
Whoa.
I only lived there for 30 years. Now I'm living here for 10. So, city of Boynton Beach.
You lost me at that
I
point.
know. It's not even as late as it was. But the whole point is to offer the best outcome for the city. It's extremely important that there's really only a few changes from the existing lower height and density. And one of the things that we asked the staff and the CRA and the city staff to do was to give us an executive summary for our next meeting. And I call it executive summary, but a summary of just the changes. Just tell me the changes. I heard you all say the exact same thing as you were going back and forth to some of the slides. And I think they were giving us more information to help. But in other words, we really just need to know the changes. And I do think that the other thing that's important to note is whenever you look at the changes, there is a step approach to it. The whole plan isn't trying to put a 150-foot building next to a 2-story building. The plan is to have a gradual increase or a gradual decrease in the height and in the density. So that's why we wanted to have just an executive summary of the changes. Two of the things we focused on, two of the statistics are from the demographics that I think is really, really important, is that the CRA district in the city of Boynton Beach will, whether we like it or not, or whether we want it or not, is going to grow. And it's up to us to decide where that growth is going to be. The demographics say, you look at that we're going to probably have about a 50% increase in our population over the next 20 years. One of the issues we also noticed, and we want to note here, is that a majority of the block groups that they do the demographics for, I think it's 7 out of 13, have the median income is below $33,000.
Wrap it up in the next 3 minutes.
Okay. Thus, I think it's imperative that the CRA Board act accordingly to prepare for the growth in such a manner as to provide homes for people and opportunities for them to work and earn higher incomes while maintaining a community that is attractive, cultural, financially, and ecologically sustainable. And a thriving community where like that is not necessarily in conflict with the height and density. Another fact that we focused on is there's actually very little vacant land, and I think that's important to note. And you got very confused, I think we did too. There's actually very little vacant land that's currently available for development in the CRA district. What we have are aging properties, businesses, shopping areas, small condo properties, and single-family homes that desperately need the redevelopment. So the question becomes, as these properties become available for sale and are redeveloped, what do we want to replace them? And shouldn't the CRA be as active as possible in purchasing these properties so that we can see that the vision for the future in this plan and have it happen for us? But one of the things that the advisory board was unanimous on, there's two things that we were absolutely unanimous on, and that is that it is important for the city to get its act together and have one consistent consolidated plan that's consistent with zoning, parking, and all the other ordinances so that people who own land and want to develop land know what the rules are. And most important, which we also agreed on, was whatever plan is adopted and whatever the zoning and parking requirements become as a result of the plan, that we stick to it, that we don't let every developer or landowner that wants a variance to get that variance when it comes to height, density, and parking. Maximums are maximums, minimums are minimums. When I'm talking about minimums, I'm talking about parking minimums. And I saw that in 601. You know, we just let the parking minimums go right out the door and approve the project. We let the height go out the door and we approve the project. If we have this plan, you have to stick to it. And so I ask you to keep in mind that what we want today may not be what we need for the future, and it requires a vision and a vision of both the city, the CRA, and the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lula DeCamera, 836 East Drive. Good evening, Chairman Grant and board members. I respectfully request that you make sure that the CRA Advisory Board is provided with excuse me, it's late, with all documentation relative to the strategic planning, as well as all development projects, current and future, for all the areas within the CRA district, so it may review same and fulfill its purpose of an advisory board to you, the CRA. I'm sure everyone is aware that the higher the building, the more concrete is used, which heats up the earth, and the height changes the wind patterns, and as well as blocking light and air. I realize economic development and job creation is important to you, as it should be. However, I don't think developers guarantee that their project will employ local workers. I know that Palm Beach County Commission discussed this in the past, trying to include in development contracts a certain percentage of workers who live in Palm Beach County, but I'm not sure how that ended up. Something I am concerned about is that it seems developments regularly obtain a reduction in the number of parking spaces required by code. I hope that granting these reductions will not put the city in the future situation of having to build parking garages, as has occurred in Delray Beach. And I know that a lot of people today, they say, okay, people be walking or biking, but in this 90-degree plus weather, I think we still need cars. So please think about that parking issue. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Good evening. Harry Woodworth, 685 Northeast 15th Place. I'm speaking tonight as the president of Inca. Talked over some of this stuff. This is fourth or fifth one of these things I've come to. You guys saw the presentation tonight. There can't possibly be any doubt that the CRA Advisory Board can bring some value to this, some clarity. They need a summary of what's changed. There is not, in this one-year process, 6 weeks before you get it for, 8 weeks before the final approval on September 6th, and there isn't a summary of the changes. Give me a break. How can you make a decision on something you can't even quantify or look at? Okay, and if you think you have a problem, you guys have done this 100 times. I've done this for 20 years. The citizens don't have a clue. A clue. I can tell you right now, I want this. I've wanted this for a long time. Vivian will back me up. Mike Rumpf will back us up. We've been engaged in getting this done. This needs to happen. We're probably in violent agreement on 80% of it. Who doesn't love what they saw in Boynton Beach with a few touch-ups? Who doesn't like some of the stuff? I mean, we like this stuff. There's only a couple of areas. There's only 6 areas in the whole bloody plan. There's only a couple of streets. You can't talk about them all at once. You saw that doesn't work here. It didn't work at the CRA meeting. It sure as hell didn't work at the community workshop. Yeah, there were 100 and some people there because a lot of people busted their butts to get them there. If you looked at that chart, there were 45 at the meeting before that, and me and a handful at the one before that. Okay, so we got those people there. We handed them clickers, and guess what? The vote of 119 people varied between 93 and 49. And most of the ones in the middle, they didn't know what the hell they were voting on, so they just didn't vote. Okay, so look at the numbers. You got the summaries in your handouts. Let's get real on this thing. This is the most important thing going on in Boynton Beach today. We are going to live with the results of this for the next 20 years. I won't be here, but there'll be a hell of a lot of other people that are going to be looking back on this commission on what the hell happened here. Okay, this is going to change Boynton Beach like nothing else has. The development is happening. The money's coming in. They're out of space all over Palm Beach County. Let's get this right. If it takes a little longer, what the heck? I mean, 20 years is a long time, and we're going to jam this through in the next 6 or 8 weeks. Are you serious? There are issues here that we won't even understand in 6 or 8 weeks. Let's get it right. Let's not snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. We're so damn close on this. Let's not do what Boynton has always done when we get this close and jam it through. Let's take the time, give these smart people a chance. What Linda said, yes, check. Okay, let's do it right. Look at the details. Look at the follow-up. This affects the land use. This affects all kinds of stuff. Okay, the tiering makes sense. Of course it makes sense. But gee, we get down here and suddenly we need another big downtown. Come on. I mean, we can do better than this. And the citizens have got to be heard on this. There was an election in this town in March. Okay, dialing back the development was a big element in that election. Okay, those people need to be heard. They have to be heard. They must be heard. And you can't tell them they're being heard when they don't understand half of this and there's no summary of what's being changed. So let's give the world a summary. It's not that complicated. A few roads, 6 areas, my God, 6 slides. What it is, what it's going to be. With a legend on it so you can see the height and the density. How hard could that be? I don't want to hear any more of this stuff. You can produce it. Those slides were there. They were all over the place, but they were there. And the other thing on those slides, citizens voted on those slides. 19 questions were asked. One of those slides showed a building of the height that was referenced for the zoning that applied. And you can do it yourself. Take your book, go in there and look at ocean. Beautiful picture of ocean. Who doesn't love the picture of ocean? God, I love the picture of ocean. That's a beautiful 4 or 5 story building in there with trees all over the place. Except the land use we're talking about is 75 feet. So if you're going to show pretty pictures, at least show what the damn land use is. Give people a chance. Okay, if they don't get the words and they don't get the graphics and they don't get all this other stuff, they can look at the picture, but at least give them an honest picture. And I don't think that was done deliberately. I think they just used the graphics they had. But give people a chance. Let them look at this and say, yeah, that's a 7-story building on both sides of ocean. I like that. Okay? And if it's not, at least you get the right input. Because I don't think what you got at the workshop was relative. And yeah, the one that was the tallest building, everybody in the room said, majority, like you said, didn't like it. But how many people were in there clicking away that, of course they liked it. When they met by themselves a few weeks later, everybody liked 100% like tall buildings. I mean, we're not idiots here. We didn't all just fall off a turnip truck.
Would you please wrap it up in the next 3
minutes? Yeah, I'll wrap it up. It's just really, I guess my summary point is, let's just get this right. You guys know what the right thing to do is. The right thing to do is to give the advisory board a time to look at this stuff, give them a summary of what changed. My God, what's changed? How hard could it be? And let them go off and do their magic. Let them talk to the people. We had a reasonable conversation the other night at 11 o'clock at night. Some good ideas were interchanged. There's a handful of issues here. Not a lot, a handful. And we can work them out. And that's all I'm asking, and that's all the citizens are asking. Because if that doesn't happen, you're going to forever be explaining to people why, they didn't get heard. They got to get heard. They got to understand this stuff, guys. They really do. Thank you.
Harry, before you go, as the president of Inca, and you said there's a handful of things. You said there was 80% that you agree on, 20% that you don't. Would you please give us an email of the 20% that you don't?
Yeah, I can do that. It's real obvious. I mean,
thank you.
I think everybody knows what they are.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tom McClure. I'm the president of the Boynton Coalition for Responsible Development. And I come to you tonight to speak to you, as our other colleagues have, regarding the changes or what changes, and ask again for the 3rd time now for an executive summary of what's changed, where we were before, where they want to take us, and so that we can see that and understand it, because I must tell you, as it was raised from the dais, I'm not happy, okay? You said some people are happy, some people are not happy. I'm not happy, and I don't like this. I like it being a little bit clearer, a little more concise, and a little more understanding. We talk about MU3 as proposed. Well, is that the actual land use, or is that something as proposed? Is that written? Or are we really at only 45 feet, but yet we're saying it's proposed, so therefore it is? I don't know. I want to be specific to everyone and draw it down a little bit tighter and bring it down to Riverwalk, a beautiful project that has been proposed, but appears to be outside of what the citizens who have come together under the Boynton Coalition are looking for. Our position, and that you've heard from the voices of our citizens, is 45 feet. It's being represented by the CRA that it's already at 75. But in truth and fact, it probably is just a proposed 75 feet. So if it's 45, it's 45. We need to know that, because you're going to be asking to make it 100, 150, which is well outside of what the citizens have asked you to do. They went to the polls and voted for this, that they want to keep these things in a level that is respectable a responsible development, and not to have 150 feet at Ocean go down the road 6 or 8 miles and have another 150 feet down here. We have, as Buck has told us so many times, a wedding cake approach to our properties here. On March 30th, the Boynton Coalition held a meeting at Sterling Village. It was a rainy night, and we had almost over 200 people plus that came to that. The developer of this project came as well. Mr. Rickman and his staff came and made a presentation. He went to the trouble of recording everyone that came before them to give their name and address. I don't know if this was intimidation, but they represented to us that they wanted to get back to all of these people and address these in their proposal going forward. Those people, nor I, have heard anything more. You spoke tonight from the dais that they have certainly been talking to you. So they have some information they're bringing forward, but the citizens have received nothing. And that's what we're asking for, is to have a voice in what happens in our community. I want to make a small reference to what happens in my little bit of a small part of the world, and that's Seagate of Gulfstream, which is the development next door to Riverwalk. We are a 55 and over community. And there's reference to walking and biking throughout the city of Boynton Beach. I must tell you that the people that live in my community, and as you know, it runs from Federal Highway to the Intercoastal, oftentimes drive from the front of the development to the back of the development where the barbecue pit is. They drive to Prime Catch. They are not bicycle owners. We have 360 units there. We have 6 bicycles. Okay? So that concept doesn't fit to the community that you're talking about here. And so what I would ask is we get the executive summary, hear what you have to say, and hear what the developer has to say about this so that we can work in unison. That's what we want to do, but we're not getting that. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Barbara Reedy. I live at 329 Southwest 13th Avenue. I'm not in the CRA district, but I have always participated in CRA activities. I was on the Downtown Master Plan Steering Committee, and I've always taken a great interest in what the CRA does and does not do, because what the CRA does affects all of us. You don't operate in a vacuum. So when we say that it's too much density, it's too much height, it affects all of us. We voted in the 80s. I've been in Boynton for more than 40 years. Longer than some, shorter than others. But we voted for a 4-story height referendum. And of course, whatever Tallahassee decided kind of threw that out the window on us. But we don't vote for anything, and we voted for that. So that was a statement on how we want low density and smart growth. I would urge you to take your time and study this piece by piece. The public input that was provided was kind of, there was lumped together in big lumps. There was pieces of the lumps that we liked and other pieces of the lumps that we didn't like, but we had to vote for the whole thing altogether. And we weren't allowed to stop and ask questions. The one question that you have a definite no answer on was when Butch Bwani of Sterling Village stood up and pointed out that that was going to be 150 feet hovering over Sterling Village. And so that got a clear, definite no vote. If we'd been able to stop and ask questions and piecemeal the input, you would have gotten more accurate input from the public. See, I believe that your public is your stakeholders. we're the stakeholders, not your developers. The days of developers coming to town and telling us what is good for us and what they want to do is what we need should be over. You know, let's have some smart growth, because as what Harry said, what you do will affect us many, many, many years into the future. So thank you for your time.
Is there anyone else from public? Yes.
As you probably know, members of CRA.
Your name and...
My name is Richard Tefano. I'm a director of Section 4 of High Point, and I've been sent here by Sections 1, 2, 3, and 4
Can you give me your address then?
205 North High Point Boulevard in Boynton Beach.
Thank you.
Thank you for sitting here all night. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your frustration. Now you know what the citizens felt like at the CRA's workshop. I'm here because I don't want to have to apologize to the 1,000 people who live at High Point as to why Riverwalk gets to be 75 feet when nobody there wants that. Nobody wants that kind of height. The density is also pretty bad, but the height is the most atrocious thing. The same thing is true with 601 Federal Highway. Everybody talks about wedding cakes, but the wedding cake seems to get higher rather than lower as it goes down Federal Highway from the high density core. Please keep the high density in the high density core. Please don't make me go back to my people and have to explain to them how their beautiful Boynton Beach ended up being Pompano Beach. We wanted to live in Pompano, we go to Pompano. We love this village. We love this city. We love the small town flavor. We don't need to make lots of money here. We need to live here. We need to raise our families here. We need to shop here and work here. So please, listen to the citizens. That's what that last election was about. That's what we're talking about. That's what was happening at Sterling Village. Thank you very much. And thank you for this CRAB people for all your dedication, all the work that you do. It's very, very important. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Christine DeHassett. I'm the Executive Director of the Florida Coalition for Preservation. Our offices are at 4600 North Ocean Boulevard in Boynton Beach. Our mission is to promote responsible development and to help ensure that citizens have a voice in the future growth of their own cities, and to help the cities make sound, sustainable land use and zoning changes that are good for the citizens and not just for the developers. Tonight you are presented a somewhat convoluted draft consolidated plan of staff's vision of the future growth in the CRA district. To no offense to them, they're very complicated issues. They all intertwine. Sometimes they make sense, sometimes they don't. Regardless, my comments tonight I think are going to focus on one specific addition to the plan, and that is the MU4 zoning designation, zoning, and the land use change, land use, of Woolbright and Federal Corner to mixed-use high. I believe it was Tom who talked about the meeting in March. The only correction was there's well over 300 people, not 200 people, that kind of braved the tropical rains to come out to express their concerns. I think everybody except for one on the dais was actually at that meeting to hear firsthand what the citizens had to say. And the two most pressing issues were height and traffic. The proposed Riverwalk project at 100 feet was deemed incompatible with the surrounding 45-foot buildings. And please note that word compatible. I don't recall ever hearing it tonight throughout the entire presentation. The increased traffic would exacerbate already poor conditions and the unsafe entry and exits into the project, which are not to today's strict engineering requirements and would require a variance and a waiver. Further, there is strong probability that the traffic congestion will create potential delays in emergency services provided by Fire Station 1, which is directly across the street. Those were the concerns voiced over and over. So let's fast forward to today. And this is how CRA and staff have addressed the citizens' very real concerns. They have proposed the four corners of Woolbright and Federal land use be changed to mixed-use high. And they've created an entire new zoning designation called mixed-use 4. Let's be clear, this designation will not affect the other three corners in that area in the next 20 years. This is for Riverwalk Plaza. We have moved from spot zoning to spot planning. But the height only gives you part of the picture. Under Mixed Use 4, the Riverwalk project could not only be built to their desired 100 plus feet, it would allow 60 units per acre, which equates to 586 residential units. 586 units. This is larger than the entire town of Briny Breezes, which sits on 4 times the number of acres. Rightfully so, tonight's focus is not on Riverwalk. However, it provides a perfect example of what the real in-field outcomes of zoning changes can be. You cannot separate land use, as you were told tonight, you're only giving recommendations on land use. It also includes the zoning changes that go hand in hand. So when you're considering the addition of mixed-use 4 zone, be clear about what that zoning change will allow. And remember that development rights can and will be sold. Is this your vision? Where's the traffic study to support it? Where's the current housing study that confirms the need for this radical change in density? Yes, this is a plan for the next 20 years, but it is also a plan that favors the developers and their projects today. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Good evening, Charles Rickman. I'm the general partner of the entity that owns Riverwalk Plaza.
State your address.
My address is 3630 Yacht Club Drive in Aventura, Florida, and I own Riverwalk Plaza, so I, have somewhat of a stake here. With regards to the other people who have spoken before, I understand the citizens' concerns or whatever they may think on their own personal type of things. I understand. However, the last speaker was here. 80% of what she says was totally false. Number one, there were less than 300 people because Sterling Village, over 300 people, is a fire code hazard, and the gentleman with the mustache didn't allow more than 280 people to come into that place. That's number one. She stated that before, and she says again. And the people that were there...
Sir, we're not going to talk about what other people said. This is just to us.
Yeah, but you're making comments over here. I'm just telling you that the fact that the land rights are going to be sold...
You tell us the truth then.
Well, I'm sorry?
Instead of saying what someone's saying is false, you tell us the truth.
Then the truth is there were less than 300 people over there because it could not hold more than 300 people, the space over there. That was truth number one. Number two, the adjacent property is not the entity where Tom McClure lives. The adjacent property is approximately 10 acres of wetland. That's the adjacent property. Studies have been made both in shadows, traffic, and everything else that complies with everything that was said. So all of this is totally unfounded of what has been said over here. It's basically fear-mongering, if not more than that. And with respect to me personally, with my personal project, this project started for me 2 years ago. We came in, and the MU3 zoning, which was allowed under the proposed zoning, is right now at 75 feet. We came in with a 75-foot project. However, because of the circumstance we have with Walgreens lease, which is 42 years going out, they would not come on board with us. And I can't argue with Walgreens, which was Woods Alliance. So we scaled it back. Instead of going to 400 units, which was 40 units to the acre of 10 acres. We went down to 326, not 580, 326. And that's what's on the record. And you can look at that. Mr. Hassis knows that, but it's a scare tactic again. It's 326, not 580. Okay? That's the number. That means we're less than density that's allowed under the present code. What we do have to do, instead of build over the Walgreens, we have to scale the building back. And we're going to have 400 feet of setback, where the building will seem like a smaller building than what it is. It's totally untrue of the other things that are said over here. Now, with me, we submitted the 7-story, came back to the city and to the CRA and told them, can't make it at 7 stories, financially can't make it. I need 10 stories in order to get to 326 is where my break even is. They said, you know what, we're working on a zone now, before I even came to the city, which one of the things was the nodes were going to change into this future height, and they've asked me to hold off on this, especially until such thing will or will not be passed, one way or the other. However, if this is going to be dragging on, personally, I will withdraw my application to continue with this thing in a political manner. I cannot hold on to it any longer in this way. It'll be totally your decision how you want to do with it, or the CRA, planning and zoning, and so on and so forth. But we will keep it as a retail center, and whoever we release it to. That's okay. We're not going anyplace. We're going to be owning this property, and that's where it's going to stay. That's the only thing that I can do. We've given it 2 years' time. We bought out the Winn-Dixie lease. We made all our efforts. We've approached the city for 1.5 years on this. They've asked us to hold off up until now. I, speaking for myself, we will not wait any longer. So I think we're going to have to be big boys, and everybody's going to have to make a decision. That's all I can say. If you have any questions for me, I'll be more than happy to answer you.
Sir, I'd just like to add, it's not incumbent upon us to make your property financial feasible for you to build on.
You're absolutely right.
So as it stands now, 75 feet, and I don't know who from the city would give you any indication that we would go beyond that 75 feet.
They never gave me that indication. They gave me an indication that a plan was in the works to make a node for 100 feet, which was already planned 1.5 years ago.
Well, it might have been planned, but it was not voted on. So,
I didn't say.
So it's all speculation at that point.
I totally agree.
Okay, thank you.
Totally agree. And it'll be your decision. It's not mine. It's not anybody else's. I've never said that they've promised me anything. Never was promised. They've asked me to hold off. What I'm saying is I cannot hold off any longer. That's the only thing that I'm saying. It's not their decision. It's mine. That's all I'm saying. If anybody else has any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Stormy Rosa, and I live at 17 Pepperwood Court, Boynton Beach, Florida, and I live next to where you guys put the high density on High Ridge Road. And I have 3 condos, and so in one condo on Ocean Avenue is Miss Kay, and she's a teacher, a PE teacher, and she pays me $650 a month. And then in another condo, I have another teacher who teaches 3rd grade who pays me $800 a month, which is a lot. And then I have another one that pays me $750. My daughter is a millennium, and she lives in one of the condos, and she and her husband both graduated from FAU 2 years ago and got married. And all they have to pay is $200 for their maintenance. So because of that, they paid off Edgar's school loans of $30,000 after being married for 1.5 years. So I really don't know what I think about all this, because on the one hand, I'm thinking, wow, I can make maybe a lot of money if these developers come in. But I know that I don't love money. I know that I love people, and I love Boynton, and that's what's important. So I just thought it was important for you to understand, too, that I really don't know what I think. I'm going to go home. I didn't really understand all this, but they told me where to go to. CRA, I love them. They do a great job online and really look at this and everything that's going on with the railroad and everything. But I felt like it was important for you guys to know, like, to me, that's affordable housing. And on High Ridge, with those places coming in at starting at $1,100 a month, and you can only have one car, I just don't know how everybody's going to afford everything that's being built here. All those teachers I know could never afford $1,100, $1,200, $1,300, $1,400, $1,500 on their own, or a $300,000 mortgage. And right now, you really can't get anything for under $200,000. So I don't know. I really don't know. But I thought it was important for you guys to know that.
Just for the record, I voted against that High Ridge
I know.
project.
I know.
I thought it was too dense for that area in the way they infilled it.
You know, to me,
along with
High
the
Ridge
parking.
is such a old country road, and Minor's an old country road. And we'll see, you guys. I mean, I really don't see, in my opinion, how they could do something like that and not have it being subsidized in some way in the future for people to still even afford that. So, I mean, you know, I don't know. I think everything's getting pretty expensive and everything's moving really fast. And sometimes you just got to slow down and really think about the big picture and be creative. I can tell you from my daughter and her husband being millenniums living down here, they love the boardwalk. They went there for ice cream. They think it's great. We love it. At least it's something to do. But there's not really a lot to do. To be honest with you, the biggest attractions in Boynton right now are on High Ridge Road, which are the breweries and the food trucks. It's pretty packed down there. And Journey Church and did a good job with Christ Fellowship in Boynton. But those are pretty much the three hot spots here in Boynton right now. So yeah.
Buck Buchanan, 807 Ocean Inlet Drive. First of all, I love most of this plan. I think a lot of it is excellent. I think it's a bit of a misnomer, though. It's not a consolidated plan. It's a comprehensive plan because it wasn't just a consolidation of things that existed, but there have been a lot of things added. However, there are some things that have been added that I don't like, and I think that the majority of the citizens, if they who are concerned with the CRA, actually could do the clickers, understand that they're clicking. I think that most of them would agree with this, with these points. First is a simple one, which affects the whole city. The height limit should be the height limit. If it's 45, 75, 65, whatever it is, that should be the height limit. It just doesn't make sense to people to say, well, this was 65-foot limit, now it's 75. It just doesn't. If you want to be 75, make it 75, and that's it. Everybody incorporates in the design all the stuff they need at the top. So that's simple, and I think it's just common sense that people will understand. The two areas that give me real heartburn in the new plan, specifically just to the CRA, is number one, adding any 100-foot height classifications to the CRA. We have small streets, a lot of residences, and all that. We're stuck with, it never should have been 150 feet as far as I'm concerned in the core, but it is. We need to finish those out, and we have things that are, the land use, allows certain things we can't back up on for lots of reasons. And of course, the other is now 75-foot height on Ocean Avenue. That just doesn't work for me. I don't think it should. So these are some things that I believe if you had citizens' input on those specific items, you'd find a vast majority that agree with me. But however this works out, I think we all see how complex it is. Everybody here has struggled with everything tonight, and I thought I understood it before I got here tonight. But whatever your limitations are going to be, we've got design regs, we've got land use, we've got zoning, all this stuff. I think I'd like to suggest, for this comfort and understanding of the citizens, that whatever you decide to endorse and whatever later the city commission passes, that you make it clear and you say, if you want it to be a 75-foot height limit on the areas outside of the core in the CRA district, that you advise staff, look, I want this, no matter how you have to phrase it and write it in zoning, in land use, or whatever, we want to be able to tell the citizens it's 75 feet. We want to be able to tell them it's 45 feet on Ocean Avenue for the two that my pet peeves about this. But wherever, you can't say, well, yeah, well, this is only land use, you know, and then this is controlled by land regs, and nobody can ever get to it because we've got compatibility issues and so on and so forth. That's all fine. We need compatibility. We need all the zoning. We need the setbacks to make everything. But at some point, the citizens, because height is a real big heartburn issue in this city, you heard the lady say, and I said in the letter that I gave to the commission, you know, it was voted on not once but twice in this city to hold the height limit to 45 feet, and thrown out by when legislature said, well, it can be home rule, and the city commission back then changed it. So give everybody the comfort of saying, okay, no matter what happens with zoning, land use, land regs, or whatever, nothing will be built higher in a CRA district than 75 feet. And I would really appreciate that approach, and I think all the citizens would, because this is way too complex to come in on the front end and really understand it. But if you come in on the back end with, this is the result, this will be the height here, maximum, not saying they'll get it because they might not, the compatibility and all that stuff, but citizens don't understand that, you know, so you just say, this is the maximum height. People understand that. Thank you.
My name is Tony Morrow. I live at 2611 Lake Drive North here in Boynton Beach. I also work in Boynton Beach, have businesses in Boynton Beach, and I love Boynton Beach. I'm going to make this real quick because I know everyone wants to go, but I think there's a few different ways that we really need to make sure that we think about this. But I think the most important way is not to be scared of it. I applaud the work that the CRA is doing. I applaud the work that the staff is doing. I applaud the work that you all are doing up here at the podium. I hear some things from some people tonight that concern me the most, and that is that to make this something that we need to be scared about. So I want to share a story with you. I have two boys in college. They go to college outside of Florida. And my dream is that my kids want to come back to Florida, and not only come back to Florida, but come back to Boynton Beach. And there's been great excitement in Boynton Beach over the last year, and I want to say even over the last 6 months especially. And when my boys were visiting, they looked at me as we were driving through town, and they said, Dad, you know, I like the energy here. I'm thinking about coming back. So let's not create an environment where people say, hey, look, it's comfortable, there's not a lot of change, I can kind of sit back. Let's create an environment for everyone. Let's create an environment where people say, not I'm from Boynton Beach, but I live in Boynton Beach and I want to be here. So I hope that you don't get scared about what some of these people are saying about height and growth, because if we are scared of height and growth, we would have one building in this town. We wouldn't have a bridge over the intercoastal. We wouldn't have anything that we have now. We'd be going backwards. So again, I just want to say thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for the work of the CRA, because I think it's really special. I think we're really got some great momentum here with some really interesting people that are working for the town now. And I hope it continues. Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak? Seeing none, moving on for discussion of the board. Is there any sort of recommendations or comments that you would like to make before moving on?
Well, I'm going to hold my opinion on this until we get back to the advisory board. I think their input's going to play a big part in my decision on which way I feel about this. And however long that takes, how much time they need, I think we should allow that. I don't think we need to rush into this, immediately. I think it's been said tonight that we really got to vet this thing out. This is going to be a very important decision, probably one of the most important decisions that we're going to make as a CRA board, and bumping it up to the city commission. So I think that we got to dot the i's, cross the t's, and get it right, and as much input we can from the citizens in advisory board.
Is there anything, before I move on, is there anything specific you would like them to look at?
Well, I would like to, a summary of like this exactly right, the zoning and height, and just simplify that down into, you know, a few words. I'll be totally honest with you, I'm not a land planner, and I think that next time we have a slideshow, we should let Bradley Miller, who puts an excellent slideshow on, conduct it. But with that being said, I was confused tonight, Chair. I really was at some point, and we had to keep going over, backtracking a lot just to get it right. I'm not a land planner. I'm a simple guy trying to figure out some difficult, complex situation.
Thank you. Commissioner, Chair, Board Member Ramirez. All of them.
It's getting late. All right. I would like to add to what Commissioner Casello said, simply in stating that this was a very complicated subject for us sitting up here, as I'm sure it was for some sitting in the audience. And I'd like to ask just for a little bit more respect and decorum in the next presentation that you guys would make to us. I know that for you guys, this is simple, and you guys were kind of laughing it off a little bit, like, look at their faces, they don't really get it. But for us, you know, we're up here trying to figure it out, and we're also trying to voice the concerns of the citizens at the same time. And we want to do what's best for the city, and whether that is, you know, we've thrown a lot of ideas out there, and we're trying to make them stick, but whatever the decision that we make, yes, it will last for the next 20 years. So we want to make sure that we make the right decision and something that will benefit the public. And I want to thank that gentleman who came up. I know you were the only one in opposition of what's been being said for the most part. You kind of spoke on your own there. But I think we need to hear both sides, because it's been a while since we've heard different sides of this argument. And I commend you for speaking. I'm not saying that I favor or am against this project at all. I'm just saying that it's different to hear a different point of view about this project. And we want to move forward, and we want to do things to benefit the city, but again, we need to do it in a respective manner that allows for each and every person to feel like, clueless or not, they have an input in what's being said. Thank you.
I'd like to ask a quick question regarding spot zoning. I heard that is illegal. Is that correct?
That is not what we're doing.
Okay, and is spot land use, is that similar, or?
That is not what we're doing.
So.
That is not a proposed thing that we're doing. That was
Let's not take citizens' words that have not been correct. Let me finish, Mayor. I just want to simply say that.
I want to finish my question. It's a yes or no. You know, I know this is not what you're trying to do, but spot zoning is illegal.
Yes.
And is spot land use still illegal? Because we're not doing zoning here, we're doing land use.
We're doing land use. And we are not, when you put a plan, we're proposing this plan, you will see that there's no spots. There's not one property.
I don't think that what's being proposed could be characterized legally as spot land use.
Thank you.
Because there's a lot of changes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, would you like to continue?
Nope.
All right, appreciate it. Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to know, that we're not doing something illegal here. The second thing I had is that the public hearing dates, it doesn't include the CRA budget hearing, which is August 18th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, but we're not going to be discussing this.
So do we need to have the CRA consolidated plan approved before the budget hearing?
You don't need to, no.
Okay, thank you.
No.
And then the last recommendation that I'd like to make to the board, you know, basically because of the confusion issue, is that max height equals max height. I don't know if anyone wants to comment or if they want to wait until the next meeting, but that is something that I think would make everyone's lives a little bit easier for residents and developers to say, hey, max height is max height.
I do agree on that with you, Mayor, and I believe that that's been a point of confusion for a lot of people where we say max height is 65, but then we make an exception for parapets and this, that, and the other. I think we just need to say 75 is 75 or 100 is 100, whatever that number is, that we feel comfortable with. We need to set that, and everything needs to be included in that number, period.
If I'm correct here, I think there is an exception in the code that allows that extra 5 feet, so that maybe the code would have to be changed at the same time.
Correct, and that's where we can make the recommendation. Board Member Casello, is that what you're saying, to change?
Well, if that's the intent of the board, to 65 feet, no exceptions, that would have to include, deleting the 5-foot parapet exception code in the code.
And is that something you agree with?
Amanda wants to say something.
Yes.
Clarify some processings. What we could do, because we're talking about the plan, is in the implementation guide, what we can do as specify under the LDR audit, that this has been a concern, and it'll direct us to then look at the code and revise the height exception process that we do have. So it'll be inside the plan as an implementation step.
And that's just a
within the CRA area.
Yeah, that's a technical step because you're sitting as a CRA board who can't make direction with regard to the LDRs. So that would be the proper means to accomplish what Board Member Casella was
The
recommending.
plan doesn't control height either. Just so I want to point that out legally. That's
Okay, so
Okay.
all I was trying to get is the recommendation that max height equals max height.
Right.
For city staff, CRA staff, whoever wants to hear it, that's
So the
kind of.
recommendation would be to
Okay.
put it into the implementation guide of the plan. So
Exactly.
staff will look at it as a result of this plan.
And
And does that affect any previous approvals like that we've made, for example, 601, where they came in underneath the prior code, but now we may consider doing something different?
Well, I guess it would technically make it non-conforming per the proposed code, but it'll be legally non-conforming because it was approved under a different code.
And so if we change the zone, I don't know if it's the land use or the zoning, so that it's 75 feet, that would make it conforming.
Well, no, that it wouldn't, because in the plan, what we're talking about in the plan isn't going on the ground. So that piece of property is still land use and zone the way it is. We would have to go in and rezone it and redo the land use. What we're talking about is just proposed land use changes. Nothing is actually changing on the ground. That's extremely important.
Yeah, that's where I got lost.
Yes, that is
you're
extremely
saying
important.
that it was zoned for mixed use L2, and that if we don't, and that the new mixed use L2 with the max height being max height, which is 65 plus the extra 10 feet.
Right.
We could say we want to zone that to the MUL3, which would be 75 feet max height.
Still have to go in and actually rezone the property to the new zoning district.
But if we put it into the land use,
Still. If it was approved under MUL2 10 years ago, it is approved that way. It would actually have to be rezoned into our new categories in order to be non-conforming. It would still be non-conforming. They wouldn't be able to do changes probably, but they would
so
still
then
be
they would
legal.
have to ask to rezone it to MUL3.
If they ever need, yes, if they were going to do redevelopment to it, staff would recommend that happen.
Okay, so this is a little bit of a taking in the sense that if we have a max height at MUL2 of 65 feet, then anything that's built to 75 feet would not be compliant.
It
So-
would be non-conforming, legally non-conforming, though, and I'm sure the attorney could talk a little bit more about that, but there
just
would be nothing.
I just want to say that if we can say the new land development regulation for MUL2 is 75 feet, then it would still be conforming
It would be legally non-conforming
because
because it was already approved under a different zoning code. So we're going to take our LDRs and edit them, and in that new edit would be the new height restrictions. So it was, when it was approved, it was still legal. So no
Right.
action would have to be
But
taken.
my question is what violation would it be if it's within the 75 feet?
Violation because it
But
was
it's okay.
approved.
What you're saying is non-conforming does not mean that there's a violation.
No.
Correct.
Okay, I thought there was a violation.
No.
Thank you. Vice Chair McCray.
Thank you. I'd just like to say that I would like for the CRA Advisory Board to go back and hash and then bring back your recommendations. I would like to say to the gentleman that stood up, the last one that spoke, I appreciate you. Point well taken. I don't let people scare me. Thank you. I have to do what's right. Thank you.
Board Member Katz.
Yeah. Okay. At least I got to go last. Two things. One, in going along with everybody else just said to the last speaker, I think that, the message I got was that, we need to change in a positive direction and not be afraid of people who don't want any change. And that's what I kind of interpreted. And that's been my position from day one. I said at one of these meetings, I don't remember if it was city commissioner or the CRA, but it's incumbent upon people and the people who work at the city, us up here, to compromise, because individuals who are speaking to us in private or here publicly express one view does not necessarily mean that is the view of the entire city. So I think that whatever particular views any given person holds, you've got to understand that there's either some flexibility slightly up or slightly down from where your view is, because no one view, mine or anyone else's, is the correct view, if there is such a thing. So to that respect, I think that, again, the key is compromise. And, if somebody wants 10 stories and somebody says that 4 stories should be the maximum, that somewhere in the middle isn't objectionable to either party, or shouldn't be. In my opinion, I think that, again, compromise is good. So that kept in mind. And I guess just on a specific note, I understand the desire to set maximum height limits and have that be the written in stone maximum height limits, but I think that it's just a matter of us as a commission being strong-willed enough to say, look, the height limit is 75 or 45 or whatever it is. We're not going to grant you 85 or 95 or 100. We have the right to do that if anyone's asking for a maximum height higher than what is legally permissible right now. I worry that, by trying to set etched in stone, unchangeable height limits, that someone comes in and the height limit's 75 and they say, well, to cover up some machines, I need 5 feet. I understand the desire not to allow additional stories or additional livable space, but I would caution to not be personally in favor of setting a hard maximum height limit, just like even though when you drive on 95, the speed limit's 70, and if you got pulled over for going 72 or 73, you'd probably say, oh, I was only going 3 over. To me, that's what I see with the 5 or 10 foot exceptions, specifically to cover up, electronics and different machinery on the roof and stuff like that. So just, with respect to hard height limits and possibly trying to integrate them with no exception whatsoever, I just think that it's reasonable for someone to ask for 5 to 10 feet to cover things in excess of the maximum height limit if it doesn't add to livable space or, workable space if it's offices. And it'd be a shame if somebody had a proposal for this city and the maximum was 45 and they say they need 52 or 56 or something, 5 or 10 feet. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, if the speed limit's 70, everybody knows they can go a couple miles over before they get pulled over and ticketed. Even though it's not exactly what the letter of the law is, you should never go above 70. We need to understand that there might be some exceptions here or there, and that's again at our discretion.
I want to ask Tara, because she does a lot of land use throughout the county. Is this a normal procedure to ask for this type of exception in projects?
Variances, waivers, that type of thing are fairly common in jurisdictions. It's not unusual, and they are usually solely up to the discretion of the governing body to determine whether or not they're appropriate in that given circumstance. There are criteria for issuing them that have to be met, hardships, etc. But in this circumstance, I think I understand that the code has already circumstances for certain types of structures that can go over a height limit if they're covering things, etc. That's also not uncommon. But again, it's a policy question, but it's not an uncommon practice.
There. Andrew Mack, Development Director, City Engineer. Just a couple of things. One of the reasons that this process is being expedited also is, we're in the current development cycle. And, the projects that we have in front of us right now is not just Riverwalk. We have several others that are out there. So, and most of our redevelopment is happening in the CRA boundaries. So the need to expedite this, which was at the direction, actually was mentioned at one of our Riverwalk meetings, was to expedite. Can you expedite this code? And then also just from the development community, knowing that they're coming into these projects that are getting ready to be submitted, we wanted to expedite this to get this project in front of you. So unfortunately, I think if we would have had the time, we would have loved to have been able to go district by district, height by height, property by property, and say, this is the land use, this is what we're proposing. We just didn't have that time to make this current cycle. Now, if we choose and we're going to delay this and not make the current cycle, that's obviously what the board can make that decision. The second thing I wanted to say was, when we were talking about max height, the code is written to the max habitable height, to the roof line. That's the way the code is written. So when you say max height is max height to the roof line of the habitable space. So when you say 65 feet, they cannot have anything of habitable space greater than 65 feet. Yes, they can have a parapet that goes above that. That's in our code right now, another 5 feet. And yes, we have a height exception for appurtenances like elevator pits and screening. That's what happened with the 601 project. It was the 10 foot. So you went 65, or at the time it was 65, just example, 5 foot for the parapet with 70, and then they needed another 5 foot to bring it to 70. So the height exception and the parapet are already in our land development regulations. So the max height is there already. So, I mean, if that's the will of the commission or the CRA board is within the CRA boundaries to say max height is max height regardless of parapet, regardless of appurtenances, yeah, absolutely, you can do that. You can write that as an implementation step. We can implement that as a part of the process. It will probably take some amendments to our land development regulations, but I can understand the reasons for it. But I just wanted to kind of clear that up because there is a max height. The max height for habitable space to the roof is what the zoning code says. And the other thing is, obviously, when Linda was there at the meeting I think all of us were there till 11:30 and almost there, and I asked them to indulge me that day because they wanted to stop and have more time to review all this stuff. And I don't think I don't want to undersimplify it, but land use, I mean, basically we're taking all those plans, creating into one. The federal corridor plan, which is pretty much lays out all of the stuff that we're talking about. There's a few tweaks here and there. Exactly what Harry said. I think 80% of it, everybody's in agreement with. We're talking about a few parcels, Riverwalk being one of them. I think, if we can get past those parcels or these little areas, I think that we have a plan in place. I would hate to see us delay this, 3 months, 4 months, or, that far out because we'll miss the cycle. You'll have people that will actually, we have several projects that are on the horizon that I would hate to see the city miss.
And I'd like to speak to that to add to what Andrew is saying, and I think the rest of the commission can follow with me on this because of the fact that we have been in a down cycle for the past couple of years, and this is, like some of the residents have mentioned tonight, this is one of the biggest things that will and can happen to Boynton Beach at this point in time. And so if we delay this process, and this has nothing to do with Riverwalk, we're not delaying this process for Riverwalk at all. This has nothing to do with Riverwalk. And let me just be clear and put that on the record. I think Boynton Beach is at a precipice right now where we can really move forward and change for the good the image of the city and really put ourselves in a position that we can say 20 years from now, this is where this is where it all started. But again, if we delay the process simply because we're trying to figure out all the ins and outs of this, then, and that's coming out wrong, let me rephrase. If we're trying to delay the process simply because we want to make sure that we don't let fear kind of bring us into a bubble, then it hurts all of the other chances that come along. And I'm speaking to town square development. I'm speaking to all the things that are going to be coming down the CRA pipeline, and it would hinder all that progression. So again, it has nothing to do with Riverwalk. It's just the whole cycle of development as a whole. I will mention the fact that you have, I forget who mentioned it. The thought just I lost the thought. But either way, the point that I'm trying to make is that we have a development cycle that's in place here. We want to take advantage of it. We don't want to lose it. Again, it has nothing to do with Riverwalk. I think it's just the fact that we want to make sure, especially for Town Square, I want to focus on Town Square right here and right now. We have a lot of development that's proposed to come to the area, and if we don't have a clear direction to give them, then this whole process keeps going over and over and over, and this is what we're trying to fix, and that's what this issue is right now. And Ms. Cross, being the chair of the advisory board, I've heard that you mentioned that they might be getting together on the 21st to go over, so to get a quorum, hopefully. So I'm hoping that that would be the second part in the extension of time that the board would need to be able to give us a recommendation that we can follow and be able to make a decision on.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to say I disagree with that. You know, they're not building more land in Boynton Beach. It's it. You know, it's kind of like we're saying that there's a real estate development cycle. Andrew, is there over $300 million currently in development?
Right now we have...
Because I read the newspaper article in the Palm Beach Post, and the answer was yes.
200, that's Cortina.
And previously, yeah, there was. Overall in the city, in the CRA, you have one project under development right now. The other two have just submitted, and then you have one more that's on the Verizon.
Well, the under development is the approval. So we have 500 Ocean. How much? What kind of dollars is that? It was 44 million.
60 million.
$60 million, adding an extra 340 residents. Mm-hmm. Why are we rushing this? Because we don't know what's going to happen when we have an extra 2,000, 3,000 people in the city. If we keep on building at this pace, we are not going to have a small town feel. You know, people always compare, say, hey, we need to be, people tell me that I think we should make Boynton more like Delray, and I have to tell them constantly, no, I would not want Boynton to be like Delray, because Delray jumped on the cycle 5 years ago, and we see what happened. They're currently overdeveloped, and that's the reason why they won't develop the Atlantic Crossing, because even though it's a great place for that spot, they're already overdeveloped. You know, we are just asking for an extra month, not 3 months, 4 months, so that the CRA advisory board can do their job. You know, you said, you know, I'm going to give it a little bit more. The executive summary, because what we saw today wasn't the whole picture. You know, we did not get to see what was taken, what exactly is changing. And you know, there was no legend, so you know, there is a lot of pieces that are missing, and I had a very hard time figuring out the difference between land that we are changing the proposed land use, which will affect the zoning, but we are not approving zoning for the land use. We are just approving the land use that affects the zoning.
I would agree with you. I mean, as far as, you know, I think at the CRAB meeting, you know, there were some suggestions on how we could present this information better, not only just on the legend, but some of the streets to delineate where the land uses are. It was kind of hard to read, and that was, I understood all those points. The point that I'm trying to make is the fact that most of the stuff in here is related to the federal corridor plan. So if you're already in agreement with this federal corridor plan, we're talking 1 or 2 parcels. We're not talking
we're talking
major
more than
redo.
2 parcels. We're talking adding an activity node that was never approved ever.
And listen, I'm not saying that and I think everyone in this room will say some are for development, some are against it, some are for the middle. I think there's a happy median. I think what Mr. Moreau said, there's a happy medium here.
Absolutely.
And I know, the point that I'm saying that could take 3, if we delay this, because right now we're in the process, that's what the purpose of this meeting was, to get feedback from the CRAB board and get direction from you on concerns and changes, because we're actually drafting that plan as we speak right now. It's actually comes back to the CRAB board on August 4th. That's the plan itself. Now that we can do that, we're going to craft that plan based on all the recommendations we have now, plus hopefully the recommendations on the 21st. I mean, it's a lot to ask the staff at the moment, and that's what I'm saying is that if we add another step here, plus they have to come back with those changes, we may be delaying this a month, 2 months, 3 months. It could happen.
I'm understanding 1 month where we get, so that the CRA board in September gets the CRAB board's recommendation, so it's not rushed on the staff, is what I'm thinking. That instead of, you know, the final adoption by the City Commission on September 6th, the final adoption will be in October or the first week of October.
Again, when you
And the season starts, Thanksgiving. So it's kind of like, I know you're talking about the certain business development cycle, but I don't understand how that 1 month is going to affect the business development cycle.
Well, you heard from Mr. Rickman now. I mean, just what he said, that he can no longer wait. There are projects out there that are waiting for this to come through. Now, just what I'm saying is...
I would have to say is, so that leaves there's an opportunity for better projects, just like, or there could be opportunity for other, worse projects. The issue is, he says, you know what? It doesn't matter what you do. I have a plan A and a plan B.
Only reason I'm saying this is because this is what I explained at the CRA CRAB board meeting was, we brought it for them and we're bringing it to you tonight. So back on the August 4th, we're presenting the plan. Even if we took what we have now drafted, you can still make changes at that meeting. At that meeting, she can say, all right, we want you to change this in this plan. Because right now, this is just a presentation.
Okay.
This is not the actual plan itself.
So the recommendations...
Keep forward on what we're going.
So
and then on August 4th, you'll have a plan that you'll be able to make recommendations. They'll have a plan in front of them. They'll say, and they'll have taken the input from on the 21st, hopefully, plus that with the fourth meeting, and you'll have recommendations from there based on an actual plan that's laid out in front of you, not a presentation, an actual plan with implementation steps and everything.
Okay, and that is something that we can vote on to.
Correct, absolutely. I'm not saying that's the right way or wrong way.
And so the question I have is, if we don't improve the current recommendation, it's going to go back to the old recommendation?
Right now you have...
Well,
you have the federal quarter
for
plan.
example, the downtown, we're adding new mixed-use high. So if we say we don't approve that new mixed-use high, would it go back to the old plan?
The current layout that you have right now is that's the plan that we're presenting in front of you right now. If we didn't take any recommendations from anything here, August 4th, that'll be in front of you. And at that point, exactly what you tried to do tonight, to say that space right there, that place that's next to Sterling Village, I do not agree with that being mixed-use high. I think it should be mixed-use medium. That would be the time to do it.
We're asking you to tell us on what's being proposed, what you want changed.
So when I talked about MLK being mixed-use low, that is something that you're looking for.
Right.
Or we could have gotten direction. I agree. Right now it's a lot of information. I think in a perfect world we have loved to have done this district by district, take this over a 6-month process, but we don't have that time.
Okay.
Tried it. Nobody came to the first one. We had like 4 people. You came. Harry came.
Okay.
Here, before we go, I just want to say that I agree with what Board Member Romulus said. I do agree with her 100% with her last statement.
Okay. And I appreciate that comment. As for the other item is the CRA Advisory Board, the pending items. There is no pending item for the executive summary for them. Is that something that you want to have a motion for?
Yeah, definitely. Have them relook at this, obviously, and come back with a summary.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. What we're doing is we're putting on the pending items for the CRA Advisory Board the executive summary, because we discussed it here, but this is the agenda item where we would put it.
Asking for anyway,
Yeah,
correct,
so-
Ms. Frost? Yes, second.
But can I just have clarification on when you mean on there? Is there a time limit, or are we saying
A time limit would be August 4th.
We're gonna
right.
actually try to meet the 21st.
And so I understand that you might have to work that weekend, but I'm sorry. Yeah.
wants to have recommendations by August 4th?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. We don't know if there's a quorum or not. And so you're saying you want an executive summary in 1 week?
No, I'm trying to get that out. We're going to try to get that out very soon to them, and then I'll copy you guys too.
So I guess the deadline is the next CRAB board meeting.
August 4th.
Correct.
Great.
All right.
Not sooner.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Any other pending items? Seeing none. New assignments? Seeing none. We have one future agenda item, the consideration of issuance of request for proposal for the Cottage District, September 2016. And before I ask for a motion for adjournment, I saw the AmeriGas tanks gone, so it's already looking a little bit nicer. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.